take a minute to get it together or leave it alone. Oh, no. Yeah. I think it's this one. Let's see. 2 weeks ago. That is it. So, if anybody comes back in. Okay. Let me turn this motherfucker on, too. Fuck with people. Okay. My Google account was recovered. All right. Let's get in here. So, how do I go live? Huh? Join voice. Okay. Back up. Oh, back up. All right. I don't know what was going on, bruh. Okay. I'm about to put this meditation thing on. So I'm trying to figure out. Now, you got the link. So, let me know when you want to try, because I think I can do it. I might try with one, oh, I forget what name she's going by. So I might try her tomorrow to practice, or if you have time to practice sometime this week. So I think I got everything kind of, it's a few bugs out, but I basically got everything else going. So I don't know why the computer's tripping. So yeah, that's what it is. But bag and I got to clean. I feel you. Oh my goodness. And I'm only coming on because it's a full moon, and like this moon is really powerful. It's powerful because of how close it is to, we're having the what do you call it when the eclipse. And so if you go into the heavens, the people that really, state astrology, I mean, there's a, something like this with the, I think they call this the worm moon. This is the worm moon where the worms is turning the earth. And so, spring means alive. And then we have this eclipse coming. So it's a lot of energy coming because of the things that are in nature and the star formations that do have a little say, not a lot. Ha, that's something hitting it. Hey, Craig Nice, thank you for coming in. So, for those of you that want to do the meditation, that's what I'm gonna come with. It's something I give freely. I was wondering if I even should bring out the sounds, but I'll talk for a minute as people want to see. People come in. That's always cool. So it's yeah, this one I can find that one. Whoops, yeah, that one right there. That's cool. I don't think there was a lot of debauchery to go on in the world. Especially up here, I live a pretty quiet life, so I don't know a lot of the debauchery, but let's see who they messing with. Plymouth shoe sale robbery could go to trial. I want to hear this.
Redefine web host.
It seems kind of goofy, but hey, we're gonna find out about it. This seems like a goofy story, but let's hear about it. Okay, here we go. I don't know why they're showing that shit. This sounds. Let's hear about this. This is a little bit of minor debauchery.
Lee's shoe sale robbery is now asking a judge to allow his case to go to trial. Hans Madave stunned his defense attorney and his own family when he tried to withdraw his guilty plea today. Our Paul Bloom was in court and tells us the 20-year-old is willing to risk his plea agreement with prosecutors and take his chances with a jury.
We're ready to fight. Yeah, we'll go to trial if we have to.
Yassine Johnson's loved ones left the Hennepin County Courthouse defiant.
They had a gun. If you take a gun, a loaded weapon to a robbery, and yes, anything can happen, which something did happen, they killed my son. And he's not just going to get away with it.
It sounds like the victim was African, but look at his ear, how it's split from having an earring.
Johnson's family had just watched as Hans Madave attempted to withdraw his guilty plea in the case. The now 20-year-old from New Hope had previously admitted his role in the deadly robbery plot with co-defendant Augustus Sirleaf.
Oh, let's look at Augustus again. Damn. In the past life, he was the house soup cooler. You know, whenever the slave masters needed their food cooled down, that would be his job. He'd come in there and just, whoo, you know, you could see his superpowers, his breath, and his super lips. Damn, looked like he's had herpes all over those lips. I mean, god damn. It's like he just got cured from some type of herpes. What, did he just eat a sandwich or something? What is all this shit on his mouth? Like, god damn. These are some big ass lips. But let's go. I'm sorry.
Even signing this guilty plea petition 4 months ago.
They killed my son. And he's not just going to get away with it.
So the African chick, like, knew she's coming to court, but this is all she could do. And the Africans say that they never leave without wearing a wig or a weave. But, like, you're supposed to, like, have it. And I understand her child's been killed, so she's a little upset. But come on, hon, do a little better than that.
Get away with it.
Madave and Sirleaf lured Johnson to this Plymouth apartment building back in November 22 with the promise of selling him a high-end pair of shoes. Sirleaf was previously sentenced to 23 years in prison, telling the court at the time he only opened fire when he spotted a gun in Johnson's waistband.
I'm truly sorry to the family. I never intended for any of this to happen.
As for Madave, he had a plea agreement in place with prosecutors on a charge of aiding and abetting second-degree murder that included a promise to testify against Sirleaf. In exchange, the state was looking to argue for a sentence of 15 years. But on Monday, against the advice of his defense attorney and own family, Madave told District Court Judge Daniel Moreno he wants to throw out his plea and instead risk a trial where a conviction could lead to 25 years or more in prison. And Judge Moreno has given both sides until May 1st on this issue, the delay in part to actually get the transcript from Madave's original guilty plea. They want to see exactly what this young man said in court that day before Moreno must make a decision whether to allow.
Wow, that is crazy insane. That is crazy insane. Hey, toss the salads. That's what it looks like with them big coolers. He tossing something. That's a really weirdo. And they, you know, their plan all along was to, you know, rob him of whatever they was charging for the shoes. We just gonna rob him. I mean, he brought a gun to protect himself, and that's what you do. You shoot him because they won't say they was trying to rob him and notice he had a gun. So he did what he's supposed to do. But another thing that is interesting, and I know for a lot of you I have to set it up to explain everything, but so I'll explain. All right. So as you all know, and even at A&T, like a lot of, so like we had our own, like when I went to college, now when I was a boy at Western Michigan University, they did not have a police department. They had security guards that was like, you know, their security thing. But when I got hired and around, I'm not sure what year, mid 70s, I guess, early 70s, they switched to a police department. And you see that all over the country. So what gave us jurisdiction outside of campus, if we had to arrest somebody outside of campus, we were technically deputy sheriffs for Kalamazoo County. So when I graduated from the police academy, I was not sworn in by our police chief. I was sworn in by the sheriff. The sheriff swore me in. Because I remember I was making a run. I had to take some bread to the bank. It's like, 10, 15,000. And I stopped the nigga. Like I had that much in my trunk. And I remember I stopped somebody and it's like, you were supposed to just go. I'm like, yeah, I saw somebody do something. So I stopped him. So anyway, the University of Minnesota is, as I said, it's on the Mississippi River, and the campus is called Dinky. The part of this campus that's functional and has all the pizza places near all the stadiums is called Dinkytown. So now apparently, the university officers are going to help with the city in patrolling Dinkytown. So that's what this is about.
For 2 years, the nonprofit Campus Safety Coalition says it's been asking the University of Minnesota Police Department to take the lead on issues happening in Dinkytown, recognizing the severe shortage of Minneapolis police officers.
I think it makes perfect sense to have UMPD responding to the 911 calls that are in the geography where students are living and recreating. I think it only makes sense.
UMPD announced starting Monday it will respond to all 911 calls in these 11 blocks off campus, an area that used to be covered by MPD. University leaders declined an interview with Fox 9, but referred us to these comments made by UMPD Chief Matt Clark on March 8th.
Many of our campus community folks are waiting a long time to get a response from MPD based on historic low numbers.
He says his department is also stretched thin, with a total of 58 officers when it's authorized to have 73. But in an off-campus area that has Greek life, student housing, and university infrastructure, he feels it's a responsibility to use police.
Hey, and up here, when they live in them Greek houses, like when I went to A&T, there were none of the niggas was rich enough to have their own house. Now, I grew up around Western Michigan. That was common for European fraternities. Like if you think of the movie Animal House, that gives you an example. That's how long these people have had their own cribs. And of course, you got to pay to be in the fraternities. It ain't like it's free. But you pay, and then you pay every month to live in that motherfucker too. So that's why they say the Greek alley. That's what they're talking about. Fraternity houses.
Force should take on. His officers will also conduct all criminal investigations except for major crimes like homicides or assaults with a deadly weapon, in which case Minneapolis police will investigate.
Personally, I won't really notice a change if they're doing like the same routes and everything, but hopefully crime gets less.
Students tell us they're not as concerned about which department is responding, more just that there's a visible police presence.
Like this past couple of weeks, I've seen a lot more cop cars patrolling.
So you see, who the students are. All right, you see who the students are. Okay. So for those of you that want to, I like giving this out. No, let me do this first. I want to kind of show a couple things. As we get into it. And sometimes, okay. I want to show these pictures of, so on top, you see a representation of the Hero Twins' father. See where you can see his face? And you see his face is skeeting. That's a representation of what he did after he died. All right. And this is where the Hero Twin had to shapeshift into a monkey. I think what it says is a monkey scribe dancing in a mirror from the monkey scribe appearing as classic. And ironically are now known as the early form of Hombats and Humchin of the Papaval. So this is a representation of the Hero Twin and their dad. So I did want to show that. I thought I had another representation. And like really, even when you get into the Papaval, one part that see, they don't understand the Omen writings, even the Makoya, which meant corn people. But even these gods, there's a very few that they truly understand, and what their purpose was. And some of these gods you see in the codex, the oldest codex, but a lot of these gods, and then we have black gods as well. We have the black gods. And, you know, this stuff is so old, they don't really know the answer to this stuff. What the fuck that's for? And a lot of the hero twins can be found in this, if you want the complete stories. Can be found in the Pape Vol. And where does it start? To give you just a little reference where you would start, he just was interested in the hero twins. Yeah, and part 3 is page 91. So it's the third part. And it goes, now we shall name the name of the father of Hanahupu and Apanakli. Let's drink to him. Let's drink to the telling account of the beginning of Hananupu and Anablanque. Zablanque, I think is how they're named, the hero twins' name. So it's Hanahapu and Zablanque. We shall just half of it. These are the names. 1 Hapu and 7 Hapu they are called. And these are the parents of Zarfrakan and Zumudakan in the blackness in the night. 1 Hapu and 7 Hapu were born to Zapakan and Zakakain. And this 1 Hapu had 2 children. The 2 were sons. The first one monkey, and the second one was 1 artisan. This time the name of their mother, she is called Egret Woman, the wife of 1 Hapu. And for 7 Hapu, he has no wife. He's just a partner, just a secondary. He remains a boy. These are great thinkers and great times. The 4 ball players, okay, so as 1 and 7, they did was throw dice and play ball every day. They would play each other in pairs, and the 4 of them together. When they gathered in the ball court for entertainment, a falcon would come to watch them, the messenger of hurricane, newborn thunderbolt, sudden thunderbolt, and for this falcon wasn't far to earth here, nor was it for Ziblaka. He could get back to the sky to Hurricane. The 4 players remained here on the face of the earth, and after the mother of 1 monkey and 1 artisan had died, since it was on the road to Ziblaka, they were heard by 1 death, 7 death, the lords of, the underworld. What's happening on the face of the earth? They were just stomping and shouting. They couldn't be summoned to come play here. We'll defeat them since we slightly got no defense from them. They show no respect, nor do they have any shame. And then this goes in to tell how, the father gets killed. And so, maybe one night I'll just do a reading of the Pape Vol. But 91, let me see. I can go a little further to try to find when they come. So, I don't know. I'll fix another time for that, y'all. But right now, for those that want to stay and do the meditation, I'm going to put her on. And I think, if it's not for you, and thank you for your support anyway. But for those of you want to join the meditation, please feel free to. And again, this is 1 Divineness. She hasn't shown me that she minds me coming on, or showing her work 2 weeks ago. And so if she ever suggested that I don't, then I will respect her. Yeah. And so maybe we can fuck around with this thing too. Actually, we can be off camera to fuck around with this thing. So that's what anybody wants to fuck around with this thing. We'll do it off camera tomorrow. So I won't have technical difficulties like I had tonight. But this is 1 Divineness. And see if I can get the absolute start. So those of you want a little good energy for the full moon, her voice is very soothing. There is no feeding from us off of this. We haven't charged anybody for this. I mean, she has her own business, and maybe it's in her in the notes here. I'm not sure, but so for those of you that like to follow along, here you go.
Don't worry about the counting. If you can't make it to the full counts, it's okay. Do you? Okay, let's start with the first breath. Breathing in through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now exhale from the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Push it all out. Let it all go out. Next breath, breathing in through the nose, love and light down to the belly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And exhale from the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, pushing it all out. Good. And last breath, breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And exhale from the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Releasing it all, letting it all go. Now we're going to just do a scan of the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top of the head and we're going to move all the way down to our feet. I just want you to go through the body and release any tension, any stress, any tightness you may be feeling, any stuck energies. You're going to imagine it going down a drain, or you can just give it to Mother Earth. Mother Earth will recycle that energy. So don't feel bad that you're giving it to her, just release it to her. Or like I said, just imagine it going down a drain, like you're standing in the shower and you're just washing it off. So let's start at the top of the head, releasing anything that is tight, just letting it go. Let's move to our forehead, any tightness in the brows, your eyes, letting go of any stress. Moving down to your ears, your cheeks, your nose, your mouth, your jaw, chin, releasing any tightness in the shoulders, going down your arms, into your elbows, your lower arms, your wrists, your hands, your fingertips, letting go of any stress, any tension, any tightness in your upper back, your chest, lower back, your stomach, releasing any tension in your hips, lower legs, moving into the thighs, the knees, lower legs, your ankles, your feet, your toes, just letting it wash away, just releasing it, giving it to Mother Earth. Now I'd like you to take an inventory if anything still feels tight, going back and giving that area some love and allowing it to release. Let's start now by bringing your awareness within. I want you to start focusing on bringing that awareness from your mind down to your heart space. Start pulling that awareness into your heart space. As you keep a light focus between your brows, not looking for anything, not stressing about it, just a light focus as you pull that awareness into your heart space. And gently pulling it down. As you do so, I want you to listen to the sounds in the room that you're sitting in. Maybe the fan is blowing or the heat is blowing. Just allowing those sounds and not attaching to them. You may hear family members or pets in the background. Just allowing. As you keep pulling that awareness into your heart space. You might hear some cars driving by, just allowing those sounds to occur as you keep pulling that awareness into your heart space. You're just being. Nothing needs to be done in this moment. Thoughts may be arising in your mind of what needs to be done after this meditation or what needs to be done tomorrow. We're not going to attach to those thoughts. We're just going to let that energy pass as you're just being. As you keep pulling that awareness into your heart space. Not worried about the bills, the chores that need to be done. Not worried about the workday for tomorrow or for the rest of the week. Just going to let those thoughts pass as you keep pulling that awareness into your heart space. Letting go of any irritations you may have had today with things not going your way. And just allowing it to pass. As you sit in meditation, you may feel some numbness or tingling. That too shall pass, not attaching to it, or just being. Keep pulling that awareness into your heart space. If thoughts continue to rise, just gently pull yourself back into the heart space. Gently bring your awareness in. Now, being in the heart space, I want you to imagine a green lotus flower opening up. If you don't know what a lotus flower is, it's okay. Just imagine a flower opening up. This is where our love resides, in the heart space. I want you to move your awareness within the heart space, within that lotus flower. And I want you to feel that energy as it expands and moves in all directions. I want you to embrace yourself in that love, that unconditional love. And send out that same love to all beings. Now let's move our awareness down to our solar plexus. Your solar plexus is located about 6 inches above your belly button. As you move your awareness down there, I want you to imagine a yellow lotus flower opening up and bringing your awareness into the center of that lotus flower. This is where our will resides, our inner strength, our goals. Just move yourself into that energy and feel that energy. Remember, we're not doing anything. for just being. Allow yourself to be guided. Now bring your awareness down to your sacral. The sacral is located between the hips, below the belly button, where our sexual organs are. I want you to imagine an orange lotus flower opening up. This is where our passion and creativity sits. Bring your awareness into the center of the lotus flower. Allowing that lotus flower to expand in all directions. This is where our self-care and self-love, doing the things that bring us joy, allowing yourself to feel that energy. Now bring your awareness down to your root chakra. This is at the base of your spine. Imagine a red lotus flower opening up. This is where our survival sits. Bring your awareness into the center of the lotus flower. As the lotus flower expands in all directions, feel the connection to Mother Earth. Feel the connection to knowing that all of your needs are being met and will continue to be met. Now, as we go in and ground ourselves to Mother Earth, I want you to feel yourself rooting into Mother Earth as I guide you down into the center. Just rooting yourself, letting yourself go, anchoring yourself into her energy. Bringing your energy down into both of your thighs, your knees, your lower legs, your ankles, your feet, your toes. Bringing that energy down into the ground, into the rocks and dirt, going down the multiple layers of the earth, going down to Gaia, to Mother Earth, connecting with her consciousness, becoming one with her unconditional love. Feel yourself becoming one with her. We thank you, Gaia, for the blessings and graces that you give us. We thank you for all that you do for us on a daily basis. We thank the animals, the plants, the birds, the air, the wind, the water, and the fire for their part in our human experience and soul's evolution. Being filled with gratitude and love, now bringing that energy forth, bringing Mother Earth's energy as she gives it to us freely, bringing it up through the multiple layers of the earth, bringing that energy back up past the rocks and dirt, back up into the ground, into your feet, your ankles, lower legs, knees, thighs, root chakra, sacral, solar plexus, heart. Now move your energies up to the throat chakra. I'd like you to imagine a blue lotus flower opening up. This is where our truth resides, our communications with others. Feel that lotus flower opening up and expanding in all directions as you bring your awareness within. Feeling the energies. As we speak our truth, and we speak the truth with loving ways and loving words. Now bring your awareness up to your third eye. This is between the brows. You're going to imagine a purple lotus flower opening up. As you do so, bringing your awareness into the center as it expands in all directions. This is where our intuition or our connection to a higher self resides. Feeling those energies of being guided, of the knowings, of the nudges, of the visions, of the hearing, whispers in our ears of what we should be doing to continue to be on that path. What is for our highest and greatest good, and for those who are around us and surround us. Allowing that energy to expand. Now bring your awareness up to the crown chakra. The crown chakra is right above your head, outside of your body. Imagine a white lotus flower opening up. This is where our connection to wisdom and to the divine creator resides. Feel yourself moving into that energy as the lotus flower expands in all directions, allowing ourselves to be guided, knowing the truth that we are all one. Now bring your awareness up to the sun. Allow yourself to feel the warmth of the sun on your face, the life force energy. Feeling the energy of the sun on your body into each and every single cell. Bathing in that healing energy. Now bring your awareness up to the full moon, where the feminine energies resides. This is called the pink moon. This is a very powerful moon. Even though the full moon energies were the highest yesterday, we still have the energies for 3 more days. During the full moon, we do a release of letting go of things no longer that serve us, so that we can make room for the things that we desire in our life, which we plant during the new moon. This moon is also requiring us to be grateful for all that we have. For all the things in our life that we are grateful for, so that more can come forward. I'd like everybody to take a few minutes at this point and go ahead and say the things that you are grateful for in your mind towards the moon, and then also recognizing the things that you'd like to release and asking the energies of the moon to help assist with that. So let's take a few minutes and do a release and do some gratitude.
The Galactic Mountain so much, he's a regular. All right. Thank you, One Divineness. Okay, I guess I say all right a lot. Didn't even know it. So, gosh, I thought things were moving. So as I was out there doing stuff, I was like, oh, okay. I thought I was gonna be able to bring a guest on, but they's like, nah, they're not coming over. So thought I was gonna bring somebody in, but they did not come over. And I know that ain't for everybody, but that's okay. I figure that it's a gift I can give to y'all. And so, okay, look, you're not gonna go. No, not that way. Go. No, not that way. Go that way. Go. Fat cat, I'm not petting you right now. I'm doing work. So those of you that enjoyed that, that's for you. I give freely. And that's what it's all about. It's me giving freely to those that can use it. And, we have it's like we have so many distractions in the world, and people don't even know well, and they're distracted. And then, it's like all these people comment on the distractions. And it is a distraction. And that's what people fail. Well, when people hear stories, there's an emotionalism with some of the stories. That's the best way I can say it. There's a type of emotionalism that comes with some of these stories. And it's no way that, and like I was saying yesterday, where people just hearing, like having a conversation with someone and so easily can be influenced while they start talking like and repeating, sentences of the person they're talking to. So there are a lot of minds out there that are very, very weak minds. So the point of it is, work on keeping your mind strong. Look, man, I'm going to put you out if you don't go somewhere and lay down. All right? Love, love, love. That's enough. I might as well plug in my phone. Damn. Oh, there we go. I love you, baby, but goddamn. And so, people are so easy to get distracted. And that's the thing is like, I've said before, I try not to talk about nigga stories. And we saw a big nigga story today. And it's really worth talking about. I mean, really, R. Kelly is out of jail. So do you see, it's like as high as they want to raise you, they can take you back down and play the game of you being taken down. When it all is the same. I mean, it's all actors. It's all entertainers. So entertainers put out these things. And it is true, when the feds come after you, they don't come after you like, we guessing he doing. No, they know. They know. When the feds come, they know. Now, the state is a little different. The state might not necessarily know. You got some charges, but they still doing their work. The feds do the work, and then they come after you. That's how the feds work. When they come knocking, they done got you on film, or they done taped you. That's how they come after you. They have the charges. And then what do they say? The Fed conviction rate is like 99%. So again, pay close attention. We know Moscow just lately had a terrorist attack. And the first, and America saying that they had told them, and Moscow ignored them. That they had told Moscow that it looked like, the way the chatter we hear, and they're going to do something in one of your public places. Now, if you think about how terrorism works, all of a sudden they are in a war on their southern, I think it's southern borders. What is Ukraine west, maybe on their slightly west border? I forget. I'd have to look up the map. But they're in a war. Now, some people say he's let a lot of prisoners come out, which doesn't sound very Russian-like, but you never know. Got prisoners that's got training fight. We don't know. That could be American propaganda. But I think 160 people got killed at that concert. And, again, terrorism, which is a term, terrorism really comes from the government attacking people. That's if you look up in the black laws, I think that's what it says, is when what the government does to scare the people is called terrorism. And so it does put them in a very vulnerable situation. Because not only do they have to think about this war and putting money, because war ain't free. And again, that's why we know that a lot of the same sides, they pay both sides of the war because it ain't free. War is hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, if not millions. And again, how are they sustaining this? American, has sanctions on them. A lot of American businesses are not dealing with Russia. They've completely cut off business with them. No, it just looks turned. And so now with this threat, and of course they want to, put Ukraine in it. It has these people on edge. And, we've just had an election over there. So it's going to be very interesting how this comes out with Russia. And as I said before, if anything with America, if it ever happened, it was allowed. So no one be tricked about that. It can only happen here if it's allowed. Just like we knew Pearl Harbor was allowed. Don't even get me to talking about the Twin Towers and 9/11. We already know what that is. I ain't even going to talk about it. You've got any sense, you see. And the meaningless wars, the war for American to, take the full control of the heroin market. That's the only reason they were in Afghanistan. That's the main reason they were there, is for America to take full control of the heroin market. And it's funny, now it's not heroin as much as it's fentanyl. And again, if you think America doesn't have their hand in something, you're very naive. Because from the very beginning, any listed drug, they're going to get theirs. Somebody in the government going to get theirs. You got to pay somebody to pay somebody to pay somebody, and it goes on and on and on. But that's the American way. That's absolutely, positively the American way. And remember, it wasn't really, weed again. They tried, when they first banned it, they banned it saying black people, black people smoke weed and think they're good as Europeans. This was their excuse because the Rockefellers didn't want it, because weed did so many things. I mean, remember, Henry Ford built a car out of hemp. Hemp can make a type of plastic. Again, fibbert, I've explained fibbert before. Fibbert is if there was such thing as a wooden plastic door, that's what fibbert would be. Fibbert was the way they made airplanes, the Luftwaffe, their base bodies was this fibbert. That's what made them so light. But the same thing with cars. Now, if you check an old door, it was made out of this fibbert board, which is particle board, which they smash together at high heats. And the same thing can be done with hemp. Just as much can be done with hemp as what George Washington Carver did with the peanut. And this is why it was made illegal. The Rockefellers didn't want competition. So the Rockefellers was the one that paid their puppets to make it illegal. Now, cocaine they saw, and it's like, what's funny is like, if you read Malcolm X books and you read older books, like cocaine seemed like it was fairly easy to get even after it was illegal. Like if you read in the 20s and 30s, they could still get cocaine. Malcolm X talks about getting cocaine in the 40s, 30s, 40s. So, it's always been around, and they've always allowed it. And, we know they created crack. I mean, our government created crack. And has the guy who created crack, you think he went to jail? I mean, it's just something to consider. So, oh, you're still in here? He likes being around me. But you're not gonna meow me, mug. I am ignoring your meows. So don't be distracted too much. It's a lot going on. When you see these big distractions, it's a lot going on that they don't want you to pay attention to, like Russia and other things. Dude, I'm gonna kick you out of here. Oh, let me see if I can find this. Did you catch they're barring hip throw tackles? Because when you throw a person down on the hip, there's a technique where, again, I've said, there's techniques that you can do to injure people on purpose. Okay. And the NFL just banned hip tosses. The kickoff could soon be getting a dramatic change. What is this change? Let's see. The fate of the kickoff will likely decide on Monday. Owners are getting together and you'll vote to approve the proposed changes, and the kickoff is a drastically different look. With this in mind, we're going to look at the proposal entails and the kickoff look like if new rules. Kicker will be by himself. The kicker will set up the ball at his own 35-yard line. After kicking it, he won't be able to cross midfield until the ball is in play. The ball, so again, listen to this. On the 22 players on the field, play 21 of them receiving the team's territory. The number will break down like this. Kicker will be by himself. The kicker will set up the ball in his own 35. After kicking it, he won't be able to cross midfield until the ball is in play. So that means till somebody catches it. The ball will be considered in play if the returner catches it or the ball hits the ground in the landing zone, because it is a free ball, and gets to the end zone. Coverage teams will be lined up together. The other 10 players on the kicking team will be lining up at the receiving team's 40-yard line. Each player has to have at least 1 foot on the 40 before the play can start. Also, the kicking team will have 5 players on each side of the ball, so they won't be able to load up on one side. Most receiving teams will be at the 35. The team has a 5-yard setup zone that runs from the 30 to 35. Several players from the receiving team must have their foot on the 35-yard line. Wow. Receiving the ball can have 2 returners. The receiving team can have 2 returners. So here's how they're going to line up. The kicker's by himself, and he kicks off to these 2 people. These people are 10 yards apart. They must be touching the line. From what they're describing, the kicker will be back here. He kicks the ball to them. No one moves until they catch the ball or the ball hits the ground. So you dig? Kicker's back here. He kicks the ball. They have to wait. They make no play until the team touches the ball or it hits the ground. Again, once it's on the ground, and then you can have 1, 2, 3, 4. They said 5 extra floating people. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So that's something. No more fair catches, though. You can't fair catch, which fair catch was safety. What is the landing zone? The part of the field that's between the receiving team's goal line and their own landing zone. Setup zone. So it's free when it hits in here to the end zone. Wow. No fair catches. If the kickoff is caught on the fly in the landing zone, there's definitely a return because fair catches are prohibited in the new thing. I don't know why they got rid of them. Touchback at the 40-line line. Okay. Touchback at the 30 and touchback at the 20. Wow. Does this show up a little bit of it? Kick return, new rule, committee. Let's see. Adapted by clubs. New rule keeps excitement of kickoff while return to injury rate closer to that of traditional. Wow. So people are going to start getting hurt more often because of these new rules. Kicking team will line up. Okay. A minimum of 9 members of the team will line up between the 30 and 40. Okay. 2 people back. If it lands anywhere in there, the ball is in play, right? Any kick that hits the landing zone must be returned. And that's kind of going to Canadian rules, if you guys can dig it. But if it goes in the end zone, it gets returned. If a kick fails to reach the 20, the receiving team takes possession at the 40. Oh, that's a big penalty. I think it was 35 before. The ball enters the end zone in the arc. The team will return it or down it and take it at the 30. Okay. Team go out of bounds, receives at the 40. Okay. That's kind of the same. I want to find this hip tackle. Let me find this hip tackle rule. Where is it? A hip tackle refers to a defense technique where a player wraps up a offensive player from the side or behind, becoming dead. What's this? Later. Becoming dead weight while often landing on the player's leg. So again, to hurt him on purpose. This technique has gained popularity as players get faster and stronger, giving smaller defenders a chance in the league that continues to award more advantages to the offense. Recently, owners voted to ban the hip band during the league's annual league. If the player is flagged, hop, drop, tackle, the team will be a 15-yard penalty. So they have banned it. They have banned the hip tackle. I want to see if I can find a come on now. This is some bullshit. Let's see. Yeah, right here. This is what I want. Let's see if we can show it. Yeah, here's a good. No. Oh, this is some bullshit. Paying for this bullshit. Let's see. Okay, here it says the NFL has banned the hip tackle rule. Committee is unanimous on the rule change, so they have got it out. No surprise here. They made clear it wanted what it calls the swivel hip drop tackle out of the game. The move was expected. Do they? Okay, right here. Oh, not now. See that? You can bend their legs. What it says is it gives smaller defenders a chance. And they land on their legs. See that? Land on their legs. Try to get that knee underneath them, then you land on it. So that's a way to purposely hurt people. So this needs to be banned. Look at that. See, he did it to Geno Smith. When he did it to Geno Smith, you saw he was trying to do it to hurt him. You saw that. He's trying to hurt him, and he tackled him out of bounds to hurt him. They've been, stopped you from tackling dudes. So this is a terrible technique. It is meant to hurt people, and it needs to go away. So, they're all talking about, oh, we're playing two-hand touch. No, you're not. You're taking away, again, it's scripted. So we know that it's scripted, but but just like, they don't care about injuries. I just only know certain injuries. That's all. They don't care about injuries, but they only, because why put the kickoff back in the game? The kickoff needs to be eliminated. So it shows you the fair catch was perfect. It was perfect. Damn, what is this? What is this shit here? Maybe I'm late. Prison Review Board member resigns after paroled offender accused of 11-year-old boy stabbing the child's mother. The Illinois governor announced the resignation of one member of the state's Patrol Review Board on Monday, 10 days after a man who was released on parole was charged with attacking a former girlfriend and killing her 11-year-old son. Leanne Miller recommended the release of 37-year-old Cossetti Brand and conducted the hearing that resulted in him being granted parole. Bird is accused of stabbing Lee Smith and her 11-year-old son. Jaden Perkins, as the child was trying to defend her in a Chicago apartment, the officer said. Smith's 5-year-old son was also in the apartment and witnessed the stabbing. During the news conference, Chicago superintendent said the violent attack should not have happened because Brad had previously violated protection orders. He had 3 orders of protections against him. Snelling said Brad had been released on parole the day before the attack and noting the suspect was still serving his 16-year sentence for home invasion, which caused the injury. This was a suspect's second stint on parole. Antoinette, whatever, said that during the news conference, said the Brand was put back in custody on parole violation after he threatened 30-year-old victim with whom he had a prior relationship with via text and showed up at her house. So, yeah, Brand has been charged with 9 felony including first-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder. Attempted first-degree murder. The Prison Review Board in a statement said at the time of Brad's hearing, the prisoner did not have any information to indicate the victim was currently petitioning an order of protection. Oh, bullshit. That's them trying to save their life. So this nigga, killed this lady and, fooled the parole board. Like I remember like one of my childhood friends, it sounded like he was a mule and got busted. He had to spend 9-10 months in jail. He got busted with money and maybe some weed, I don't know. But he did 9 or 10 months in jail, not prison. And he said, telling me how he's writing people the notes and shit. And he's like, well, I got good handwriting because, you ain't got nothing to do but time to study and look up them laws. That's all you got time to do. So you got time to do that kind of stuff. And that's where, the old-fashioned saying of, the prison lawyer. So. But, I hope that whenever you can catch that meditation, I hope it helps. What'd you say, James? I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't think you were coming back. Like, glad to see you give us some knowledge. Yeah, it's the full moon. And, I always come on full moons just to give some powerful manifestations. And I guess I'll hold my own little thing before I get on here because I'm not going to go too much longer. Get a little rest. I do got a busy day tomorrow. But, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but life is definitely what you make it and the effort you put into it. I want to say it's funny. I want to play this little short, and I think I'm going to make it a sound where Dick Gregory says, if God doesn't know your rent's due, then that ain't God. So, and that is very telling. That is very telling when when you talk about source energy. Because again, when you look at it as source and we being of layers on top of source, again, your prayers to source are even less and less. But I will say this, in positive affirmations and stuff, you can set them because the way the magic works is you can say your own spells of protection and manifestation. And you don't have to do like the Muslims do it 5 times a day. You can pretty much, once you make these affirmations, you've put them out there. You put them out there. And just like, the thought clouds, everything that wants to know every thought. And that's what the machine is trying to find out. But there's definitely, something that holds that, every kind of thought. And that's why sometimes, when you're trying to come up and do something, it's like, how can I describe this to make it make sense? You definitely don't want to say your idea out loud, but sometimes you don't even want to think it because you just hold it. Like if you know it, sometimes you don't even want to think it because you might just want to hold that idea. Like it might come to you one time. Don't ponder. Like put it where it belongs, but put it safely in there. Because you don't even want the thought out of there. Because again, what a lot of people think is just when we speak that it goes into the cloud. But a lot of times what we think the same way too. If we think a certain way, it can change the fluid reality just by what you're thinking. Like I always say is when, you start getting news or you worry or you stress, don't start writing a bunch of negative stories on top of the way you feel. Because that's just a natural thing. It's like when we think of something, we worrying about something, we want to write so many negative, dreadful stories. And think about it. That's negative manifesting. It's definitely negative manifesting. You're manifesting the negative. That's why, affirmations, positive affirmations, you say them and you think about them. and you kind of get in this pattern of living it, which is not bad because it's again, it's a way of being positive. And visualization, all this is the same thing. But it's like what I learned a long time ago. Like when you see houses, like this is a prime great example of how not to get trapped into giving your energy away. You go look at a house, and all of a sudden you go home and you start visualizing living in that house. And what I say is wait. Wait to do that. Because even that visualization of you living there can corrupt the whole bargain or the whole deal. Because, and again, this is not, talking about any kind of karma. It's just the way the cloud will take your idea and start pushing back at it. So you go through these deals without any emotion, without any future. Like the witch would say, a lot of people, when they manifest the future instead of manifesting right now. And she's absolutely right with that. That don't mean send me no goddamn picture or be on my feed, bitch. But what you said is right, I'm sorry about cussing. I know you like that kind of shit. I'm sorry I called you a bitch. I'm sorry. But that's why, when you manifest, you want to manifest right now. Like right now, what would be better, or what do I need, or what am I trying to do? Instead of putting it too far out there, because that's what you keep doing. It's like kicking a ball or kicking the can. The can is always out there. And so, that's what we always do. And so that's a habit we have to break too. Because manifesting is right now. And again, you watching me, you must be having some kind of luck in your life. Things should be going pretty good for you, I hope. Man, I got to get my tickets because Ryan Davis is going to be here. I hope it's not sold out. We've been messing around so much. I hope it's not sold out. Oh, and my Eagles got Shaquan Barkley on the motherfuckers. But if they don't have no defense backs and linebackers they can tackle, they're going to have the same outcome. At Hurst, I know he was hurt all year, but wasn't impressed with him this year at all. Not impressed at all. Murdered football player's mother brands son killer as cowardly and evil. Okay, I'll bite. Murdered footballers. You know what? This must be soccer. This soccer. I don't know. Yeah, the way this is sounding, it's like. Well, still, the mother of a footballer, again, this has got to be soccer, has been branded, was attacked in a Birmingham. So this is England. We don't care what happens in England. I'm sorry, guys. Showing you a bullshit story. No one cares over there. Man, I'm telling you, this some shit on Facebook that showed them English women and them at the nightclub. They all dress alike. It's like they must. It's like they are brainwashed and thinking that. I guess this must be what it's really like in England. That all of them think that if you don't wear a mini dress, you ain't gonna attract nobody. And it can be freezing over there. You'd see motherfuckers with coats on and shit, and all these bitches wearing these little mini dresses. So that's the only way you show that I'm available is wear a mini dress. And these women are. It's like. You'll watch 10 videos, you'll see one or two pretty English looking chicks. Most of them be rough looking. Like they've got the really knife face, those sharp edges. Like I don't know what Jimi Hendrix was doing when he went over there. I mean, they had to be really ugly in the 60s. But Jimmy, he was knocking them down. Because he was knocking them down. But me, damn, she got a little baby alligator. I don't know, y'all. Ugly is ugly. As I said before, if you follow an ugly person home, that ugly person will, when he goes to his door, it'll be an ugly person waiting for him, because ugly people seem to, come together. I guess, as people get together, they say, well, I'm this ugly man and I'm this ugly girl, and I think we're perfect for each other because we're the same amount of ugly. And that's what it seems like with melanated people. European folks, y'all, like, I'm going to say this about y'all women. Women that just like European men, looks ain't, it seems not to be a thing. Like with European people, y'all don't seem to care how your spouse look. You got that Prince Charles over there with a ugly, ugly wife that was his mistress. He had this cute, tender thing. He chose the hag. The hag is almost the queen or whatever she's called. He chose the hag. They found him a virgin that really didn't know what to do. And then he had a virgin that, she's prunish because, motherfucker, you got to break that pussy in. Most people would have been happy with having Diana and that virgin pussy. By the time I got done with her, she would have been a full freak on, And that's what it takes. But she would have been my freak. You dig? But he was like, well, she doesn't give me head enough, and Camilla's really good. Yeah, no, nigga, teach her how to do that shit. So, But yeah, so don't go to, and it's too expensive to go over there right now. I've showed you the money. Don't go over there. You're spending way too much money. Oh, my back is not as bad as I thought. I'm going to the chiropractor too. I'm taking my daughter, and I called them. I'm like, I don't hurt my back again. It's like, come on in. So I'm gonna pick my daughter up, and then I'll go first. And it's not as bad. I put that medicine on it last night. Put ice on it, kind of helped too. So again, it's my thrust up. If I ever hurt it bad, I'm gonna need that electric chair to help me stand up, because that's kind of what hurts on me when I hurt it. That's why I wasn't shoveling shit. we paid damn near $300 to the association here a motherfucking month. $300 to this association, so they'll cut the motherfucking grass and shovel snow, this is the only first time my walks need to be shoveled. And the first time, and I think the only time, my drive need to be shoveled. So damn if we overpaying this year to live in these row houses. But I don't mind not cutting grass. I'm like, yeah, I can not cut grass. But we get a house, I don't really mind. I will. Okay, I like it. We got a new dance, y'all. It's called Tighten Up. Damn. We got a new dance, y'all. It's called Tighten Up. Don't tighten up, lighten up. Winter storm, so. All right. I guess I'm what time is it? I did this show for this side for an hour. All right. And then I'm going to fuck around. No, I'll do it offline to get it right. So I'll give a little bit of let me see, how can I do this to make it cool? All right, I'll just start. So I'll make it simple as I can and relatable as I can. So as I said, everything is, especially source energy, is close to like an onion. What we know, there's a type of crystal consciousness that's in the middle of the earth. It's impossible not to be there, because if you look at everything what the earth is, the earth is run by, it's all on top of a crystal, and it's, and on top of the crystal is all these oceans. The biggest ocean exists in the inner earth, and again, where there's water, there's a lot of different lives. Like even some of the caves, where there's just certain creatures that live, they study these little things and say, how can you live, and never get light and all these things. So to get in touch with that, you kind of have to peel back like a lot of what you know, a lot of spiritually what you've been taught. You've kind of got to go at it in a fresh pair of eyes, you know, like they say, a babe's eyes. Because what you start seeing and what you start getting into might not make a lot of sense. And again, you know, especially spiritually. Because, you know, and it is about vibration, no doubt. And if you can just sit there and you can generate just enough energy, and it's spiritual energy, you know, there's a lot of different layers you can connect to, but this ain't, you know, it's not easy. You know, being spiritual is not easy. And like Jeffrey Lane has said before, and many of you see, is like the way it was just saying when you woke up, you know, it seemed like the world really hit you with a, you know, a shovel full of shit. And it's like Cypher said, you know, put me back asleep. I don't want to know the truth. And that's how, you know, that's how they make us feel. They want to punish a lot of people. And a lot of people stay in that punish lane because they get stuck in it. They don't understand that, okay, I can get through this. But if you just live, you just stay in that punish lane, again, you never get above it. And it makes dread. You know, you start having dread from knowing the truth. And that way they make you numb because, like, I know, so what, it ain't helped me knowing. You feel beat up and defeated for knowing. Because most people aren't content. It's like, okay, I know, but now what? And the now what is okay that you know this. How can you use it? How can you use this energy that you have or this gift that you have? How can you use it? And again, each gift is magic because we are very spiritually magical beings. I mean, when I was earlier, you know, talking about what a yanni is, I mean, this is spiritual and magical in every kind of way. To say that something can turn into something else and then fly through solid rock like it's nothing, to be absorbed into the rock and just move right through it. That's magic. And that's vibrating at a certain level. You just, you know that if you vibrate so hard, you can penetrate almost anything. You know, sonar penetrates deep. Again, because it can vibrate high enough. And that's what happens with us. You know, you get to, you know, after weeks and weeks and years of practice and practice and practice, and at one time you just, you know, you might not even, and what happens is sometimes we won't even pay it attention because we're so used to doing it and the results being so much and so much. And then one day, boom, the curtain opens. And you're like caught off guard because, again, it's not normal what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. You know, the layers are peeling right in front of you and you weren't really prepared, even though you've practiced. And all this comes within a microsecond of a thought, of a vision. And you're sitting there like, what just happened? Did I really see what I just saw? And you doubt yourself. Because a lot of times what happens with meditation is sometimes, you know, I'll close my eyes and there's the God face. You know, this giant head just right there. It's like, soon as I get into it, and it's like, boom. It's like, what you think about this? Hey, what's happening? Glad that you came. Glad that you took an interest. And a lot of times they just want to see that you recognize them. What level are you at? Can you even see them? And will this spook you out? Because a lot of times we don't realize getting into the situation where you want to meditate that we're vibrating very high. We don't even realize how high we're vibrating. And we sit down and boom. So that just shows you, you know, just positive thoughts and doing the right thing. And like a brother to ask about what I felt about, you know, what my ad shows. I mean, what it shows is to go through life and listen. To go through life and listen And to go through life and not make judgments and not have any emotion. That's what full mayat is. That's what mayat really means, just balance. But that's what it's asking you. As you go through life and you stop being the judge and you stop being emotional and just be balanced. And we know it's like our Constitution. I mean, there was other Constitution before. That the Americans had already put together before the Europeans. There was already something they could base laws on and how to treat people. There's a Bible that's being suppressed. That's one of the biggest things of this of the time walking papers that's put out there. There's a holy book out there that they're holding from us. And that's why, you know, when the people try to say that Kemet was over here is ridiculous, because there's a holy book that's older than all that, that tells you, you know, what was over here and what faith they had and how the world worked around them. So there's a guide for us, but this, of course, is suppressed. They don't want you to tap into that, but yet it can be tapped into. I mean, around the world, there's been always a way to live in society. Always the way. I mean, when you look at what Martin Luther did, and Martin Luther was like, we don't believe what you people say. You don't even want us to read your book. So he put some proclamations on what he thought was it to be a good Catholic. Because he's looking at these people that don't even want him to read the book, to pass the word to the people. So he saw a flaw in what they was doing. So there's always been rules out there of code of how to act. But it's interesting, you know, what the American Indian says is there was no prisons. There were no prisons before they came. Another fact of life is there was no pollution, no trash before they came. Not in the way we look at trash, and not the way that the European creates trash, because Europeans create a lot of waste. I mean, one thing they showed of what's the Kevin Costner movie, you know, where they killed all the buffalo and they only take them for the hides, and all the meat and everything just spoils. Well, we know the American Indian on coast to coast used everything of almost life. The American Indian on the East Coast never cut down trees, because there were so many trees already felled in the many, you know, this was a country of forest. As I'm saying, you know, even going back millions of years, this is tree, you know, this is the planet of the trees. I mean, that's how much they respected. They didn't even have to cut down the trees. They just had to go walk and find the trees that fell down, the old trees. That's how much they respected the land. And they learned ley lines from us. Again, that's, you know, you look at where churches is, it was Indians there first. This was their holy spots. And I've said before, you know, the destroying of the mounds is a lot of what utilitarianist, what you talk about was the destroying of the mounds. That's what, you know, when you looked at what they was digging up, they was digging shit from mounds. And the most stupidest shit of all is saying that there was mansions in New York that had free energy and it took Europeans to dig them up. Or Eurasians. They ain't even Europeans, they're Eurasians. I guess that's the proper thing to call them, is Eurasians. Because Europe doesn't exist. Europe is just another part of Asia. But the Europeans, again, they want to feel special, so they try to call it something else. Again, you look at the chick puts the map, and they want, you know, these little bitty islands. England's a little bitty island that would have been destroyed without America's help. And people know, you know, we still pay the Queen taxes. So we're supposed to be their subject. And again, if it's a real revolution and you have an enemy, you never let your enemy be north of you. You would never allow that. You would never allow an enemy to be north of you and south of you in Jamaica. Who does that? That just tells you it's all bullshit. It all breaks down to be real bullshit. Because if you strategically, you wouldn't allow it. And that's a lot of what Russia's saying. Like, you got all these missiles around me in these bases. We don't need another country, NATO, closer to me. I mean, again, it's all a game, but still, he has a point. And, as I said, like we had the police officer and the EMF officer killed. And the stats of the parade was like 14,000 people came out. And again, what I saw was more Eurasian power, more Eurasian togetherness, more that kind of solidarity than what happened to the children that were victims, that lost their father dramatically. I didn't feel like, even if I participated in it, I wouldn't have felt like I was part of them. Because a lot of what they were representing represents something that excludes me. And so something that they know as a group that excludes other folks, this is being highlighted as a memorial for another, Eurasian. So do you understand how we as melanated people look at that as extremely racist? And to see how quick they can organize, and imagine if they had guns and stuff, how quickly they organized. 14,000 people. Think if they all had guns, how quickly they organized. And this is how a lot of the lynchings happened, It was more Europeans in a general area, and they'd organize really quick and then go murder one or two people. They do this every few months or something just to keep the terror going. Lynching wasn't relevant as we think. More people died during Reconstruction than died during lynching. By far, the numbers ain't even comparable because, again, those first few years of like 1888, when they was just snatching niggas off the streets and just putting them into these prison works, the numbers, they wasn't even keeping up with the numbers. We were being sold back then for as little as 25 cents. So all this story is buying a big Mandingo for 500. No, that shit didn't happen after the war, especially going into 1870s. After Reconstruction, they was like, fuck you. And the unions, put Harrison in there, they pulled the troops out the South. And again, most of the European troops, the Eurasian troops did not want to, they standed on the side of the Eurasians. Even if they were wrong, they would fight with them. We see this over and over again. The federal troops in Wellington sided with the people trying to overthrow the elected government. So what good was the federal troops being there if they're going to side? Because again, their prejudices persisted in illegal law. They didn't care. If you killing niggas, we just gonna join to help you kill niggas in the name of the government. And we see that over and over and over again during those times. But I guess, I'm not supposed to talk negative. I'm sorry. I got a little off in that. But I really mean it. And so it just makes us reflect. And there's a bitterness is there because what I'm saying is real. And the experiences that the melanated people of America has felt is real. And that harm goes into your DNA. So that's not victimism. It is something inside of us that feels harmed and vulnerable because of this cold thing of the Eurasians and the treatment since they've come here and the expectation of treatment. I mean, this imperialist mentality has never went away. And as much as they want to say, that say it's soft, well, it's not a racist country. Come on. You ask most people, even successful people, will say, yeah, it is. It's never not been racist. Never not. Double negative. This country has always been racist. It would never, and really, this is the sad thing. The only way to quit being racist is the Eurasian problem. If you die out from not having babies, the country will drastically get better. And I hate to say that, but it really would. If you really could die out and your ideas die out, and these old families, people finally go up against these old lizard families, non-human family, demon families, and really defeat them too. Because, they trying to use magic and spells to keep alive, to protect them while the vampires is locked up. They tell you about themselves. While there's a group of them locked up, sleep, till you feed them blood, they recycle. They recycle these people. These beings get to be dead for a couple hundred years and they bring them right back, looking like somebody else. So you have to understand what we're really facing. And as someone asked again about the 10 Commandments, they don't live by that. That's a standard. It's pretty easy to go by. It's pretty plain. But the people that wrote them definitely didn't live by that because they were the biggest cheaters in the world when that was supposedly written. That's what they turned into. Cheaters. And again, I don't speak things lightly. Some things I haven't studied in 20 years. And so I'm trying to remember, 20 years ago when I read it, I had my aunt in a fucking ebook. I think my brother sent it to me. My brother's the genius of ebooks. He has thousands of ebooks. And he is quite the learnt one. And so, positive energies to him and the children. I know he's back working. He was retired for a few years, but he's back working. And I know he's probably joyful to be working. And so power to him. Power to my daughter. My daughter only has a few more months of school. Much love to her, indeed. My best friend's son, same with them. It's March. Shit, April, May, June, they'll be, it comes quick. Comes quick. And life is quick. The spell I give you is the days are long, but the years are short. I got that for Robert Hyland. Lazarus Long. But that's the truest of the true. The days are long, but the years are short. Especially the way they train us, I mean, most of you, I'm sorry about that. But most of you remember what it was like being in school and just looking at the clock, thinking, fuck what they teach, and I just ready to get out of here, looking at the clock. And look where we are now, how quick that looking at the clock went. Seemed like we'd be sitting there forever after lunch, not thinking about this bullshit that's being taught. Ready to go home or go to practice, basketball, football practice, whatever. And then the same kind of thing was felt when you started working. Again, the elementary system is set on the Prussian military system. That's what our elementary schools, our high school systems are set up as. Sitting in the rows. That's why you see, I'm knowing too much, I'm sorry. As you see, different classroom formations are attempted now instead of that military row in elementary school. They're breaking the class up. My daughter had a class where they rotated every couple of days. Some days, all day, you sat in a recliner while you did your work. Some day you're at a table with a couple other people while you had your day. So they're trying to break away. Again, calisthenics, gym class. They was trying to keep people ready for military. Gym class was for the military. I mean, when I first started gym, we were doing calisthenics that military does. Squat, thrust, and that kind of shit. That's why they wanted you in shape. They wanted you in shape so if they could draft you when you're 18, you're not a flat slob like you see today. And that's another part of American imperialism that's dying down, is the people that operate the machines that keeps them superior. The technology that it takes to operate these killing machines. Your Americans ain't as smart, because the ones that are too smart ain't working for the military, unless you get them stuck into intelligence. They don't want to do that shit. They want to work on their own, make their own money. You know, these top eggheads don't want to work for the military. Not in the CIA, not in the FBI, unless they're forced to or blackmailed into. They ain't getting the biggest and best and the brightest. Look at how they've changed all the way you get into the Army. And they did it to their own selves. I mean, they made people run for years in them uncomfortable boots. How stupid can you be? Why would you have people work out in uncomfortable combat boots? And I know Nick Taylor's probably saying, because when you get in the Army, you have to wear combat boots when you're humping. Why wouldn't back then you invent a more comfortable shoes to hump in? Why wouldn't you invest in the feet in the first place? In World War II, they didn't even give them waterproof boots. Look at all the, study World War II and even Vietnam, where they'd making them change socks. Even Vietnam, I don't think the boots were waterproof. And look where they were, in the jungles, swamps and shit. And if you didn't take care of your feet, you get, that shit, you'd have big whelps and shit, rot foot. And they got with leather that's not waterproof and fucking probably wool socks. And making you, if you got bad feet, you got to run around, run miles, and one of the worst constructed things ever to work out in. Because now we know that you can create a tennis shoe you can go to war in, which is far more efficient than that piece of leather shit that tears down arches. It's funny, you see pictures of Ali and motherfuckers running in combat boots. Again, that comes from military. You see all the old fighters running in combat boots. When there were tennis shoes that did exist. But again, you can see who they trained. They had a military mind. And speaking of Ali, like Ali, this is the worst thing that happened to him from being banned. After Ali came out of retirement of being banned, which was his peak, and you can't say, he's one of the greatest and had 3-4 years? It's closer to 4 years from last peak fight. Really, it took him almost 10 years to get better. Really, well, he got to what he went 76. Took him 6 years. Lost 71. Took him 5 years. So 5 years. But again, you take that 5 years plus the 4 years being banned, that's damn near 10 years. But when he came back, you see his hands. He had to get his hands numb because all them years, them 4 years of not punching bags and punching niggas' heads fucked his hands up. His hands, it was already from being punching. So when he got back into it, he didn't have that toughness. And the other question is like, I know he didn't have the money, but why didn't somebody with the money keep training him? That's the other part I never understood too. It's like, how do you not have money to be trained? And we know the Muslims stole a lot of money and shit, but. And of course, he sold his soul, of course. I mean, it's easy to see that Ali sold his soul to be champion again. I mean, it's very clear if you study him as a man that that's what he did. He sold his soul to be a champion, a person that, how did the guy say Allah? Yeah, that was beautiful. Listen to a brother called it our law. Allah, our law. Our law. Yeah. Is it really a God or Allah? If you study where the idea of Allah came from, you look in the Kabbalah had many idols, and Allah was an idol. There was once a little statue, and the little statue was called Allah. You have Jehovah was a what they call it, a mountain god, volcano god. I mean, some of these names you can look up. You can look up where they came from. And these, so these weren't supernatural beings at all. Not like people give them, proof, credence. And again, you deep study anything, you see if you deep study it. That's why here, I like having the references. And I think I will do a little bit, reading about the Popeye Vault for those that you don't know. Are you saying there's TikTok talks a little bit about them? And I guess I could, break down and read some of this stuff too. And I want to sit down and read how much I can divulge of the time walking papers too. And I know what's relevant and what can be used and what can't be used. So, and even them, as much as they changed my life, I see the fault in them, because of research, I'm like, okay, this here didn't happen. So I don't know where he got it, but this part here, right here is, again, discernment. You're just like, well, it's got to be. One Divineness, she's writing a book about now, 2 books about the Anunnaki. So she'll be on the next couple of days. Hopefully I'll have her on. Not One Divineness. I'm sure. What is her name? She sent it to me. So let me see. The Divine One. One Divineness and the Divine One. I think that's her name. Let me read it for her. What'd she say her name is now? Oh, she's over here. I think she's over here. Maybe not, though. No, I think she's got my numbers, so she must be in my numbers. PJ, and I have, let's see, 4. Oh, here we go. What is her name? What does she want to be called? She hit me like, and she does readings too, so I forget what she calls herself, but hopefully I'll have her on, PJ, whenever he wants to time in. And Magbone, if you're out there, definitely get into my Discord, and I'll start bringing people and answering questions and shit. So, yeah, I got to mess with it a little more to really master it, but it's on. So those of you that want to come on and ask questions, that's, it will be coming. Because I don't mind preaching to the choir. As Dark Man X says, preaching to the choir. I don't mind that. I got a lot to say. But I don't mind interacting with people either. I am not the beginning or the end. Nor would I want to be. You dig? I just bring in the idea of experience. And experience, and really, getting spiritual, luckily being able to be spiritual my whole life and having spiritual people around me and the right spiritual people around me. Because there's a lot of religious people around me. My stepfather's family and my father's family, religious people. But not all of them spiritual, like my great-grandfather was, and like my grandfather was, both my grandfathers. They were spiritual. My grandfather was like, he was getting them Time Life books, and he said, you see this page right here? It teaches you how to make a wand. See that boy? He never knew my name. He always called me boy. Here's my grandfather. The nigga did not know my name. He just called me boy. He was like, Harold's boy. But I never forgot that. He said, see that book there? It teaches you how to make a wand. So he passed to me, a lot of that, where the making and because again, he had 4 grandparents. So all that's passed to me, through those moments. Again, he didn't, he dabbled in some type of spirituality, as well as my grandmother, my stepfather's mother. She taught me about sigils, and I don't care what any of them say. She used to have sigils in her back pantry, and she would make little things of protection in her like hanging. They'd be hanging in the window, and it was you wouldn't really even pay attention to it. You wouldn't even notice it really, because she had a little light curtain over the pantry, but you could see into it from the porch. But if you looked at the glass, it was little sigils on there. And then she hung these little things that was hanging from the curtains, and she had the little things. And again, if you wouldn't notice, I mean, they were really small, so you wouldn't even have noticed unless you spent time with the person. And I was like, I watched her put that shit together. I'm like, what's this shit for? I mean, I've been putting, I never didn't put salt in front of my entering and leaving. She taught me that. Because again, she grew up in Louisiana, and my grandfather grew up in Mississippi. So, these are spiritual lands that a lot of spirituality came out of before the Eurasian came over here, before the imperialists came over here. And, that doesn't change. And, like, who are the imperialists? I mean, a lot of people just say, well, these are just all Americans, but it represents imperialism, even by the numbers, even by the people. And that's the attitude, is the imperialist attitude. Because that's what happens when the imperialists take land, is they feel that because there's so many generations on the land, they have every right to be there, no matter how the land was taken. Because some of these times we can go back and see where the fraud took place. And I was saying, Sherman's March to the Sea was to destroy a lot of free people's stuff, courthouses and stuff. Sherman burned a lot of records that weren't necessary to burn. And again, we have the Southerners that did the same thing to try to take properties. Well, there's no record of that. Well, if I got a record, but there's no matching record of that. And these are games that they would play too, to steal lands. So that, 100 years ago, that's all. A lot of these things were done not that long ago. That's what they talk about. It was not us. Well, it was you. 100 years ago. It's the 1920s. Still very much Jim Crow. Very much Jim Crow around the whole country. So how didn't you benefit? And again, it's the foot put against our necks when only 100 years ago Jim Crow existed. So it's not like, 1880s when slavery. No, we can point to 100 years ago right now. Jim Crow was still in effect. And the people that suffered from it still are suffering. And the people that benefited from Jim Crow are still benefiting from it. So that's what they don't want you to remember. That's why, they want to say, well, this is not a racist country. I mean, we have a corporation that took over right after Reconstruction. Completely different entity than what happened with Washington and them. When we see the American corporation, something different than a country. And again, the argument is always with those people in the American Vatican, which they call DC, which is another just American Vatican. They're both made in a demonic fashion. That's why when you look at the Vatican, there's nothing spiritual about that place. It's demonic from the beginning to the end of it. It's made to look demonic. The energy there is totally demonic. And the same in DC. So what do you think they summoned? Both places, what do you think they summoned? And that's why I harp so much about the Civil War. The Southerners, it wasn't the other states. It was DC, which was itself by itself. And they had to scuttle to get other people to help them. So it wasn't the Northerners that bothered them. It was more of those Southerners, more of these people that that wanted the wealth that didn't have the wealth. And again, look at the way they killed. I mean, it really was a annihilation of Protestants. That's who Grant attacked. When the attacks in the West was to wipe out Protestants. I mean, they wiped them out. And this, again, was a power before this. And the wealth. The South was wealthier than the North. And they wanted to say they were wealthier because of slavery. Well, I mean, it's easy to do the math about how slavery, they economically benefited from slavery, and the numbers ain't crazy as you think they are. The percentage that they benefited from slavery was not as great as you would think. Because people overlook who were the artisans, who were the builders. You just think slaves can build, just good shit, huh? Remember, reading the book 12 Years a Slave, he was a master carpenter. So you thinking all the master carpenters during slavery was slaved? All the melanated people in America, you think all the master carpenters were slaves? You think they was gonna just get the best, like, the architect could come with this beautiful building and they'd be like, well, let's let these, how do we get these unskilled slaves to build shit? Does that even make sense? Well, we can get a nigga a hammer and a nail. How are they gonna know? How are they gonna know how long to cut the logs? Where does that takes training? Because when you build a house, everything got to be a certain size. So do you see where the layers of saying these are unskilled people? You just think they raised a generation of unskilled niggas that we just, when the house needed to be built, we just give them a hammer and nail. We tell them everything to do. No, this 5/8 board goes here. Come on. Does that make sense? Does a society really go fast like that? You got to tell a motherfucker everything to do. That's the way they tell you slavery is. They had to tell these niggas everything to do to build a house. There was a master right behind him. No, nigga, grab that 5/8 and put that up here. So you telling me the only way the South was able to do work was micromanage? You had to micromanage to build everything and to make that made the South more prosperous. Now, yes, the North had built a bigger industrial base built on the trains. However, the South was still, the agriculture was still king, which it still is today. Well, not so much, but cotton. Cotton wasn't going nowhere. Them people was going to make that money off cotton. Both sides. Time is it? Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to do 2 hours. I'm sorry I had the problems earlier. It's frustrating. But these are just some things to consider about how it is. That's all. It's not quite the story they tell you. And I have no hate for anyone in my heart. I hope it didn't come out like that. It never is. But I do hate imperialism. I do hate Zionist, fascist. And, we've been faced with all that. People hiding what they really are. And, like it or not, it's still a lot of motherfucking racist. Let's see.
Decent white folk that still don't know they're racist.
What was that, Dick?
Decent white folk that still don't know they're racist.
And that's the problem right there. Not knowing yourself. Not knowing yourself. And pushing habits that, have passed. Because it's the hate that hate produced. This is the hate that you produced. You made the people hate the government. Now, this is something that the government has created. I mean, happy people don't complain. Distracted fat people do, but happy people don't complain. You really put everything at a fair, and again, fair competition, true fairness. But we don't see that. We don't see that in the food we eat, the things we buy. I mean, it's all manipulated. The numbers, when I show you the stocks, I had a guy, and I think it was on my old channel, that Kramer guy. Maybe it's on this channel, but he said, he came out and said, and he had never said it before, and I don't think he said it since. He said, there's no way this is real. He said, what we've just witnessed, the way the stock moved, shows somebody manipulated it. And he said it on camera. They ain't fire him or nothing. He said it right on camera. And it might have been on my old channel, so it might be erased. Damn. So, yeah. Well, you know what? I got to pee. I'm going to play my man. You give me a minute. Let me play him while I pee. Yeah, I need to stretch my legs. And I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite brothers. Let him chop from where we stopped. My man, Ancestral Production. I don't think he'll mind me. Let me give you
that I made on there. He says there is no
little bit of his work. So Ancestral Productions, take it away.
long continuity that these people have over there, referring to Africa. Now, that argument that Africa has been sliced up by Europeans and that we speak different languages because there's a lingua franca, the lingua franca argument, I think that's a nice term. It's bullshit. The Europeans know that there's a continuity with the African languages, with the African genetics, with the African religion. They've known it since they studied it. It is well documented. And it's the racist Europeans that wanted to come in and say that we're separate people. They're trying it again even more aggressively now. They fear a united Africa. And what you have to do is you have to look at the contradiction of Europeans trying to split Africa up into separate parts, but they consider it standard that they just get to claim all of Europe and all of ancient European history. It's absurd that Tariq says that we as foundational Black Americans, our history starts there because he says there was a new ethnogenesis, which is fair enough. He can say that. But that ethnogenesis is rooted in the ancient African traditions that sprouted this ethnogenesis. See, and then Tariq will try to jump and say, yeah, but there were Africans here before that were Native Americans or what. That is not my lane. I don't touch that. But even if that's the case, they were still E1B1A Africans. Genetically, they're West African. It is well documented. Our history, our cultural patterns are the longest and the oldest. And as I've said, when those diverse African groups came together, there are overlaps with the symbols, and those symbols were the first to rise in the new ethnogenesis. You see, if I have a serpent symbol, you have a serpent symbol, well, then a new iteration of that serpent symbol is going to come out. More importantly, these diverse African groups that took place, that became what we call, or what they call the foundational Black Americans, they all have common ancient linguistics. See, Tariq is wholly ignorant of this. Now, and the second African on this video cooked him on the linguistics, and Tariq had to cut him off. See, Tariq quick with that mute button. See, so I think Tariq is right that we have a unique cultural group. There was a unique ethnogenesis that we have a right to define ourselves. He has a right to call us FBA. But to say that that definition does not include the ancestral traditions that it started with an African genesis. It started with our ancient cultural patterns. The gods of the quote unquote FBA, all we have to look at it. It is so absurd. I don't even need to go into the details on it. Our scholars have already covered it. But this is what he's selling, this dividing of Africa and making the erroneous claim that because there are loan words in African languages, that means that the culture has been mixed up. African cultures are negentropic, just like their cousins in India. We don't ostracize. We take in everything, whatever is useful. But the core patterns remain. The most ancient patterns remain, and they are the most venerated.
What did he say? Whatever we can use as melanated people, we take in all of our cultures. Just like I was saying about the Micaiah, that lived the same time as the Olmec. We take all that in. We don't say fuck the Micaiah because they ain't the Omen. We take them in too. Now, just because I'm not Afrocentric or Pan-African, I still take a lot of that spirituality and the soul of black folks in. So let's go.
Rated. What Tariq is trying to sell us, and this is blasphemous according to African traditional religion. Tariq wants us to honor our ancestors only from the time that they were enslaved, that there was no tradition behind that. What do you think helped them survive that boat ride? Do you think that they were giving praise to a Majara spirit that Tariq makes up, which root word is Mojo? And with Mojo, we go all right back?
Now, okay. What's wrong with my camera? Anyway, far as the boat ride, we know, I don't know why my camera is not coming back in on me. Far as the boat ride, we know there ain't no boats. What we know is people were transported like cargo. That's where they were transported. They were transported on cargo ships. So there were never hundreds of people at a time. It was always, 10, 15 like that. And then when we get into once they killed the majority of people in the islands, they started taking mainland Americans down to the islands. So you got to keep that in mind, is the way they move people. That's why we know the number of African slaves to only be about 200 and some thousand. And that has nothing, come on, what's wrong with my camera? Why is my camera out of focus? What is wrong with it? It's definitely out of focus. Well, I can put something up else instead of me and talk behind that. So keep that in mind. And so, it's not knocking his work, but I'm saying really truly understanding how people were moved around the world. And again, not giving the excuse, and still, understanding that, the African was one of the biggest slavers of them all, were the Africans themselves. And again, my reference, it's clear to find, is The History of World Slavery by Thomas something. It's behind me, so I can't find it and give you the name of it. So they slaved more people than any of the Europeans slaved. But again, they had nothing to do with, the Central Africa had nothing to do with what was happening in America, the taking of people from the mainland to the islands. Again, one of my own relatives won millions of acres because his family members died. He was the oldest man in the family, and all of a sudden he gets kidnapped to Tobago. And then we see the manipulation of them taking land from the mother. And then after 8 years of fighting and coming back, all he was given was 20 acres when he actually owned millions. So do you see how, it's taken from us? And now I don't even think I have any claim of those 20 acres. Only a couple hundred years later. All right, I'm going to let him go.
To West Africa. And through that religion, we go deeper to the E1B1A or the religions, the cults of the serpent and the bird. I'm going tangential there. And he's lying to people. He's doing a great disservice to us. And there's no way that he can win an argument. So he lies. He lies. Yeah, so what I'm trying to get at is people have a right to define themselves. And we have a right to look at ourselves as a separate group, but we are an iteration of Africa. We are a new iteration of African people. And then the people try to, I've seen even Yvette Carnell has made this reference. We're not African. Fine. And people are hurt because there have been arrogant Africans that say that we are not, that our blood is tainted.
Let me see if this camera's going to work right now, but if not, it'll just be fuzzy. Golly, what happened? Why is my camera out of focus? There we go. Knew something would work. Let me see, what would he say? Let me see again.
As descendants of.
Oh, okay. Let me say this. I never refer to myself as black. You ask me, what I am American Indian. But more importantly, I am part of the melanated people of the world, who are the majority of people, who were the original people. And so I think that's what we don't understand that we have in common more than what we don't. Because we know that there are people that just can't receive melanin. And that's what it is. It's people that, again, they were able to live, cohabitate without being. And it appears like, if you really look at it, it appears like when they call the Neanderthals, the people that lived during the cold, seems like this is where the start of these people. Because where they come from, there were no melanated people. And these people were able to thrive in the cold and the snow with lack of true melanation from the sun. This wasn't what the majority of the world was. This was only small pockets. And so, like they say, the fear of the black planet, the deeper they dig, the further they go, the more it's melanated. So it's obviously, the most ancient people are the melanated people. And that's why they hate us. I mean, it's that simple. That's where the hate comes from. And it's also the saying that they feel that if things were equal, we would treat them the way they treat us. That's one of their arguments for staying in power. That we would do them like what was done in France. We would kill all the nobilities. That we would kill all the nobility. But remember, they hated those people because they said, what'd she say? Let them eat cake. They don't need real food. Let them eat what we throw away. That's what they can survive on, what we throw away. That was the attitude. That's why the bitch got her head cut off. Because that was her attitude. I don't care about that. I'm rich. This shouldn't touch me. Let them motherfuckers eat cake here. And that's what they did. They took cake to the poor people. Like that's going to solve your hunger problems. So, I'm not screaming victimism. We're just saying this is what history has shown us. And the way they controlled, Alabama and Mississippi was through terror and murder. I mean, that was the main control of what the Southerners were allowed to do after Reconstruction. They're allowed to terrorize and murder because they were the minority. It was more melanated people in Mississippi and Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, but through their reign of terror. That's why, when they burned that one boy, 10,000 people showed up. And what did I just talk about? They just had a thing for their fallen comrades, 3 people, 15,000 people. And that's what they've always been good at is banding together. They show their symbolism all the time, and they're banded together in ways we don't understand. And what do they tell us? Don't band together. Just think of it like this. Why do you think they really push all that Saturn energy in Chicago? And just think of all the warriors in Chicago banded together to fight that police department up there. On a hit and run type of tactic with the lack of cops up there now. Don't you think they'd be far more effective than what they do now fighting each other? Thousands and thousands of people killed over the last 20 years. Young people that could be warriors to fight something else, but been taught to fight each other. I mean, do you know the martyr, the giving your out life up for revolution instead of dying like a sucker? I mean, just think of the power if they would just see their common goal. We're all fucked up socioeconomically, but yet we can control these streets. So why don't we band together to see how much more powerful we can be? And that's why there's constant divide and conquer up there, constant government informants working as, they get them young, get in trouble, informant, but go ahead and kill a couple people. Was paid in full, Alpo, government informant, was allowed to kill people. Psychopath, serial killer, a government serial killer that they end up letting out because he was a government agent. And then they set him up because he was too broad with his. He ain't know how to just sit back and dig. He wanted the spotlight, so he got killed for wanting the spotlight. When you're a mass murderer like that, you got to sit back. But he didn't understand that. Big Meech about to get out. Big Meech is in a halfway house right now. He about to get out. So don't tell me, this ain't a government agent. And when has America ever not had their hand in drugs? I mean, it just doesn't work like that. And that's what the great about Snowfall. Snowfall tries to show you the rogue, but it wasn't any rogue. It was still from start to finish, they had their hand in it. So there was nobody rogue in the CIA. No, it was all them all the time. And they picked the different puppets. And the people played a puppet role. They make movies to show you how you're supposed to look and supposed to floss. Be Maserati Rick. They show that. You want you to see plenty of that. Instead of really, fighting to make our neighborhoods bigger and better. By everybody unifying. And again, I go back to Chicago. If all those gangs unified. Remember the scene in Malcolm X where a couple of the brothers was beat up and they wouldn't let doctors go see him or put him in the hospital, take him to the hospital. And finally, Malcolm X took a bunch of troops up there that wasn't armed, but just a lot of troops up there. How disciplined they were. And they was like, again, that's dangerous. That nigger has too much power is what one of the police officers says. Because here they was basically, what the scene is telling you that Malcolm knew how to be nonviolent. That's what the scene is trying to tell you. They try to tell you that Malcolm is such this rhetoric about violence, but yet you saw an instance where there was no violence, but there was unity and there was a group of power, but they were just as organized as King marching. See, that scene tried to show you something that most of you wasn't even hip to what they was trying to show you. That this man knew nonviolence too. He knew discipline too. So, this is what we need to tell the youth. They've some kind of way got to find a way to get along, to understand that this divide and conquer is a script written by something else a long ago and shouldn't affect you as much as it's affecting the young niggas. That the answer is the power in numbers, not the power in separation. And that's what they some kind of way got to understand. I mean, and don't even get me to talk about abortion. And the 4 lost generations? And you do the numbers of 4 generations. You have something in the millions. And again, the idea of unity of melanated folks. Because again, we don't trust a lot of each other. And that has to be overcome too. Because we appear to be the most least trustworthy people on earth. If you really look at it. A lot of us are very not trustworthy. And again, sabotage is everywhere. I mean, it's so sad how people will turn on you that just loved you a month before. How little it takes for people to turn on you. And you're not, the way life goes, it's like we are not all going to get along. I haven't talked to my daughter. My youngest daughter's about to graduate June. It'll be 2 years. And that's what she wanted. She's hurt because she didn't get to grow up with me. And that her mother, and all, the way it was is her mother not letting her come up here as a means of control. A means to get back at me. If I let her come up there, she might like it too much and like you too much. And that's a fucked up attitude. And all I say is you have to be who you are. I mean, when you have children, it's your heart is in all those different places. And as they become adults, you let it go. Because it's stupid to try to have control of an adult. You have to let them live their lives. And you can't write all these stories that I talked about earlier. They do their thing. I mean, yes, you can make proclamations, prayers, and that helps, but you don't need to do them over and over again every day. You do them and you put a little protection spell over them, and you can do, it's things around your place you can do that's protection spells for them too. You got their pictures. While they're alive, you can set up shit with their shit. That's kind of protection spells. And all you do is say, and it's like, breaking up with family is like breaking up with a woman. It's like if they need to get into contact with me, they know how to. Other than that, you somebody I used to know. That's what she's made it. It's someone that I used to know. And that's okay too, because that's what life is. Life is full of somebody you used to know. Funny story, switching, pivoting up. My ex-wife is a trip. My ex-wife, I do something nice for her. And she always gives me this sob story of how sick she is. And my son busted her today because she just turned 50. And she was like, yes, I've been in bed. I haven't felt good. Now I done talked to my son that told me she wanted to go to the club that night. 50 years old and still want to go to the clubs in Minneapolis. I mean, she don't mind being the oldest chick in the club. She don't understand. At 50, you don't deserve to be in the club anymore. You go in the club in the daytime and have a drink, but she don't feel like that. In her mind, she thinks she can compete with all these young 20, 30-year-olds. That's her mind. But anyway, it's like you're giving me this story of how sickly you are, and it's not true. I'm like, wait a minute. Your mama told me she was in bed all day. He's like, nah, we was out bowling and shit. I'm like, And I don't care. It's like, lying for nothing. I don't care. I'm going to help you regardless. So I don't give a fuck, hon. Whatever the fuck you did, you ain't got to sell nothing to me. I'm your friend. What I do for you, I just do for you. I'm going to charge you, though, $35. So that's just funny. That's just funny. That's all. It's just funny. Love and power to her. And, she did feel bad, fast healing. And I say that to all, any of you, if you need that little energy, I would definitely send it to you. And think about it and ponder about it and try to send you healing energy. I mean, there are remote healers. And I'm not trying to scam anybody. I wouldn't try to charge anybody because, you know, it's not nothing chargeable, but people do try to charge you for that kind of thing. But there are people that can remote heal. And I've told an instance where it was very, what did they want the little boy to, they were hoping the little boy lived through Christmas. And I was just able to remote heal him a little bit. And he was able to, his test and everything came out where it looked like he was going to make it for, you know, a few weeks, whatever it was. But it was like, I didn't even know him, but he came up on the feed. And I just like, yeah, remote healing. Now, again, you know, this is very speculative. But I know that from playing my bowls, and I've given people sound baths. Now, again, FaceTime, Zoom, I can do it, you know, but just on the phone, you can do it too. And just like remote viewing, remote healing is the same way. What you do, you go into it instead of trying to, you know, look at a facility or something, you go find a person. And then you start looking inside of the person to see where the disease is, to see which galaxy needed to be operated or helped. And that's what remote healing is. It's nothing more, nothing less. And you could sit in front of that person and physically go inside them to see what's not working, or to see that you can find that disease and help remove certain things. Now, I'm not claiming I'm any miracle worker, but I'm saying there are talents like that around the world. So there's a lot of different spiritual and physical talents that people have that's, you know, not talked about. Again, most people don't even know about remote healing, but they know about remote viewing. And this is, you know, it's funny. Like this is the same kind of thing. The way the shaman would have to do the same thing is the shaman would have to call the demon. And first of all, to call the demon, you got to bind him. And he would call the demon that could heal, and then he would possess the demon, and then he would, you know, he'd bind the demon and then possess the demon, and then he would go heal. That's how the shaman has to do it. Because that given demon has the ability to heal certain things. So the demon can then sit in front of somebody, but again, it's the shaman as the demon, and then he's looking inside of that person to see what needs to be healed. That's what a shaman has to call up. And there's a price. I mean, the demon, again, if you got to bind that shit, there's a price for all that. That shit ain't free. So you see the more natural way to do it. You know, again, we don't deal with the demons like that. Even on the Tsar shit, you know, you don't have to deal with demons. I mean, I guess there's a part of the Tsar world where they do, but you don't have to make that exchange if that ain't what you're using the Tsar for. Ah. Ah. And so, you know, we only do magic that comes from the Americas. Like even the witches, we don't follow them witches in Europe. The spiritual women of America, there's the spiritual energy that we tie into, especially the female energy. Oh, baby girl slaughter. Hey, thank you. And you know, I got to get that book. I got to find his book because I am friends with him on Facebook. And thank you for reading it. I appreciate it. Thank you for reading it. And I say subscribe to her channel, but thank you for reading it. And so, you know, it's just if you look at what kind of healer are you, and it's what's natural for you is these American grounds and these American roots. This is what's more natural for you to try to heal. And again, if you want to be, you know, a remote healer, you have to be able to vibrate high enough that you can be effective with a person. You have to have your own way to physically put enough energy into it to even make the quest to sit in front of that person. And so there's a lot of work involved in being able to do that. And so that's where a lot of people, I think, fail. That they find out they don't have these capabilities. Because you've got to every day think about all these possibilities. And I mean, like, you got to really know how to heal yourself. And all what goes into even healing yourself, what truly goes into it. What'd she say? Oh, they're on Amazon. Okay. Thank you. Amazon. Okay. I can get those pretty easy. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Because I know when he put them out there, you could get them. And yeah. And I'm cool with I wonder if you were what is his name? Hampton. Is it Michael Hampton? But he is, man, his YouTube. I got to show some of his videos sometime. It's a cat. And now I used to go back in it. I used to be a Facebook sniper, but this cat, his stuff he put out, I mean, it is very well done. Very well done and on point. And I've had to mature up to understand enough that, yeah, it's like these some deep brothers. And we have, as we've all evolved, and we finding out, where our specialty comes from the study. We all from that era, we've all, I think, had something to offer to each other. Just and Jim Redwolf is another one. I think he has a little bit to offer as well. Never heard of him. Yes, yeah, I gotta find him because his stuff is really thoroughly good. So I gotta find that brother. But he's maybe it's Reggie Perkins. Is that Reggie? Is it Reggie? It's a basketball player. So I'll look this brother up. But I like, I used to talk shit to him, and I started looking at his YouTube work. I was like, whoa. This brother put some good stuff out. So I have to look him up and I'll share. I always share Ancestor Production because they took away his channel. And what does he have now? And, I don't get caught up. But, like, this cat has got some of the deepest stuff and only 56 people. Now, come on. And this is what gets me, too, to tell you how fake this system is. Like, some people don't even, as I was saying, on Plenty of the Fish, they had that thing where you could go live. They had some kind of a server where you could go live. Excuse me. And it just shows you it's a lot of lonely people in the world. And it's just like, you look at like some people, what they're talking about, what they're putting out there. And it's like, how does anybody want to even hear this? So some of this, it's hard to believe, when you look at the eyes that hear certain information that they say. It's just sometimes it doesn't seem believable. High, low numbers, whatever. We know it's not what you're saying it is. That more eyes and more ears, this message is getting through to more. Because a lot of this YouTube is they want to back you into only one thing. And they think that, and they think that you'll suffer unless you do one thing. But what you have to understand is they like making money. And if you're putting things out there, they'll start rehashing some of this old stuff. Because they know how good it is. And they know if they put it out there, people will watch it. So I've learned that as well, too. The stuff is good. And again, I don't have any hate out there for anybody. I don't think I'm competing with anybody. And I don't have any negative things about the individual. And that's when you listen to me, that's what you got to understand. Like Malcolm X was wrong when the young lady walked up to us, when the Eurasian walked up to her and said, "Is there anything I can do?" you always say with compassion that every little mind that says this is really a thing. Every mind is worth looking at and saying you have value. And just because you have this compassion, you're doing enough. You're doing enough. But again, Malcolm's coming from the thought of not some, but all. That's what they preach. Not some was devils, demons, but all of them. But in reality, it's the individuals. That is definitely a reality. This world is ran on individuals and individual relationships. So no one can say that I have no love for people. No one can say that I don't act human to people with compassion. No one that knows me, that knows I will help anyone if I'm able to. So, yes, Chief Red Wolf is on point. That's how I found your channel. Well, nice. I agree. There's a lot of lonely people in the world. The message is getting out. I've been listening to you, killing it. Oh, well, thank you. I'm trying to in this full moon and this eclipse energy. I'm trying to stay with it, trying to put it out there while this energy is at its peak, trying to, jump on this energy as it comes and share how you all can feel it. Like a young man, there was, and I hope he comes because I think he asked a question about Mayat, and I hope to have him on the next day. And he was just saying like the way the Kundalini was coming, and he thought the Kundalini was evil. But Ancestral Production hit me to this one yogi, and again, like his father, the Kundalini literally made his father go crazy. I mean, it literally took over his life where he wasn't a rational person anymore, but in some small ways. And the way the Kundalini hit these cats is like, I've never felt negative Kundalini at all, where it's unbalanced. And that's what he was kind of, and like as I was reading about this cat, the way the Kundalini comes in, he talks about it comes in hot or cold and not balanced. And so I'm listening to this young man, and that's the same thing I'm hearing. He said, the goosebumps turned into something that he felt that it was something maybe attached to the Kundalini, that he did not feel that it was positive. But I can't say from my own experience I've ever felt that. Never felt an imbalance. Matter of fact is, the more I practice it, the more it just like the color just, whoosh, the breaths are just, whoosh, and it's just the whole body ignites like a Super Saiyan. And I just feel the glow that I show and the glow that I feel. And it's like all the radiance that I am. It just, and it makes me Mr. Motherfucker. And you know what? I hate to say it. I'm changing the name of the channel. You saw the discard. The name is going to be Flint Pontiac. I thought that's perfect because, of what they did to Flint, Michigan. And Flint is a month, Flint is a month. No, Flint is actually a day. Let's see. Is Flint a month or a day? My Mayan is rusty. I don't study it enough. What is Flint? I thought they had the dates in this one too. Maybe not. Thought they had the calendar. But Flint is the month. Let's see if I can find the calendar. So it's going to be Flint Pontiac instead of Big Pontiac. So what is it? Let me try to find what. Okay, this is. Oh, these are all animals. But Flint is like a day too. Because it'd be mugs. Like that's the way names. It's like what is it? 8 deer jaguar claw. He's a mixed Zapotec great leader, but that was his name. And it's 8 deer jaguar claw, 8 wind Flint eagle. That was his name. So it's 8 deer jaguar claw and 8 deer Flint eagle. So Flint is also one of the months. So I'm changing it to Flint Pontiac. So that's what I'm changing it to. It's Flint, Pontiac instead of Big Pontiac. And again, I'm from Michigan, but it's putting a little of the Mayan name. And, you know, I really, Pontiac is a person that walked the dirt that I walked. And there's two great leaders that walked the land that I walked. Pontiac more directly. I lived in the areas he lived in. Tecumseh is another one. I've walked lands that Tecumseh has walked. But Pontiac, I feel more for him because we've lived in the same area. I was able to walk in his trail. So my affiliation with him is a little stronger. And he's not just a car. He was one of the great leaders that said, hey, we got to keep them back here. And if they, you know, if they get further than this, it's going to be too late to my future generations. I don't fuck it, cause I reflect. I don't fuck, cause I am from FLINT. Oh yeah, cause I'm coming FLINT. Yeah, ain't no future in your front. FLLINT. Shine 'em up good, going through my neighborhood. Oh, shine 'em up good, going through my neighborhood. Ah, I love that. I love that. I've never been to Michigan. I just go visit. Yeah. I mean, I haven't lived there in 18 years. So, I lived in I grew up there. I went to college in North Carolina, stayed in North Carolina for 7 years, stayed in Michigan, raised 5 children, 6, I actually think. Yeah, 6, 5, 6. And then been here for the last 18 years. And, like the last land I lived in Michigan was one of the most cursed places I have ever lived. And it was hard to understand, now looking back, I understand. But at the time it was like, this place was so cursed and so, I mean, just the way the people were. It was like, I've told the story about Nigga Charlie many times. I mean, that's how bad it was down there. This motherfucker wanted to be known as Nigga Charlie. All these Eurasians is calling him Nigga Charlie. That's how bad it was. And so it was poison to me. No, not at all. It is so depressing living there. It is so depressing. There are the services in Michigan. Like, check this out. My nephew is autistic, and I mean he's autistic. Very beautiful child, but he is autistic. They won't give him rides to school because he doesn't. He's included, but he goes to 2 different schools, I guess. And so they don't take him to school. The state won't pay for any of my brother's children to go to school. He has to physically drive them there. Here, they ain't the problem. Here, medically, so economy wise, Michigan sucks. Michigan sucks. It really does. It's cheaper to live there, but yet it's a worse economy. Opportunity is terrible. I don't know. No, I don't miss it at all. I don't miss it at all. They played Breed on the satellite. He definitely was a musical influence. He told her he was dope. It wasn't just. It was like the Breeds. It was a bunch of them Breeds. He had 3 or 4 brothers, so it was a bunch of them Breeds. I met because my cousin grew up in Flint. His father was a state patrol officer, so my cousin graduated from I think Flint Northern. I think that's where he graduated from. He graduated from Flint Northern. So yeah, I knew Flint. Yeah, no school transportation for children that are handicapped. So Michigan is, and that's why, it's like they made dope, weed legal there sooner. It's easier to get prescriptions in Michigan. I mean, Michigan is a trip. The way, and this is, this goes back to how America has paid us. This goes back to how America has paid us. Remember, the only reason World War II was won was 4 cities: Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Gary, Indiana. Those 4 cities is the way we won World War II. And the most important of them 4 was Detroit and Cleveland. Pittsburgh, I should throw Pittsburgh in there too. But look at how they didn't destroy Pittsburgh. Now they'll take a hit if U.S. Steel sells. Pittsburgh might take a hit, but you notice they still exist. Look at what was in Gary. Gary and Cleveland both were still capitals. I mean, Gary, Indiana, you just go back to watching any Jackson movie and he's like, Joe, where are you coming from? Hey, I had to work at the, what do they call it? With his hot metal and shit? Foundry. You know, niggas working at the foundry. So you don't owe us for that, America? And look at what they did to the Midwest. Because of greed. Because of greed. They busted up the unions, was allowed to take them union jobs. And what did, Trump had told the right idea. How he would have handled when all them companies tried to go to non-union places. What did Trump say? You trying to take our jobs and take this company somewhere and then try to sell the shit back to us? He's like, man, we killing the price. We putting them prices way up. And if you try to move to a non-union state, we taxing the fuck out you. If you take away these union jobs to try to go to this other country, we gonna tax you for taking away them union jobs. And, some people, try to say that the smokestack society was dying. It still exists. I mean, one thing I learned about Michigan, I worked in is supplier parts. Like if you got a steel foundry, you got all these different supplier kind of things that supply the foundry. So there's thousands of micro jobs that come from one big job. Do you understand? That's what Michigan thrived on, was supplier parts. When they broke up the monopolies, they was like, no, fuck, you can't make everything. When Henry Ford started making cars, he made everything from Ford. You understand? Everything, the bolts, the nuts, the bolts, everything was Henry Ford. Right? I mean, look that up. So the way the monopoly said, you can't do that. You can't make the tires to put on your car. You got to have a supplier. You can't make those steering wheels, the steering system. You got to have a supplier. All these different components, somebody else got to make them. You just put it all together. That's how they broke up, that's how they're breaking up the union. Like you're allowed to put the car together, but you're not going to control everything. And that's where Michigan's biggest hit is all them supplier jobs went away. And a shout out to Reagan, as fucked up and racist as he was, Nippon Denso or Nippon would not be in Battle Creek, Michigan. All those Japanese plants in Battle Creek, Michigan are only there because of Reagan. Because Reagan was like, okay, if you want to sell these cars here, damn if these cars ain't going to be put together here or a major part of them. And so that's what Toyota did. And Nissan. Speaking of Joe, I ran across a podcast, High Strangeness, which one of the Shylight kids on there was saying a lot of craziness about Joe Jackson and the Jackson Sons and Satan rituals and murders. Yeah, it was always, all the boys talked about the brutal abuse, the mental abuse, but the word on the street was that always was Joe was sexually abusing Reby. That was what kind of the word, and now, allegedly. But that was the brutality of all of them was like he brutalized all his children and even her. And a way of her getting away from some of the brutalism was by being a Jehovah's Witness. That was the way the mama found out to get away from Joe's brutalism. And of course, again, once the boys get big, they ain't taking that. But that was the word was when Reby was a teenager that Joe started sexually abusing her. I don't know if y'all ever heard that before, but that was the word in the street. But that was what the word in the street was. Now, allegedly, not the other two girls, but Reby. That was what the word in the street was, that she was sexually abused by her father. Now, I showed a picture last night of Michael, again, showing what to do. And then I showed you a picture of when Mike knew the real deal. So, again, they sell their energy signature. That's what it is. They give their energy to it. So that's all selling your soul is you give. So like right now, the way we all are is this lives forever. The idea of you lives forever. This consciousness that you have lives forever. Now you can give this up. I mean, it's been proven that you can give this up, but it has to be voluntary. And so even if they give you the world of gold, you still voluntarily give your energy up because of the gold and the riches now. You don't care about what comes next. You don't care that you're being fed like a cow to some other being. Excuse me. And that's what people don't understand. You're being fed like a cow to Baal. That's pretty much what you're giving up that energy for this existence. Whoops. But it's beautiful places all over America to live. I like it here. I don't mind like the snow and we're supposed to get like I took my son back home and it started pouring like a motherfucker. But we need it. It's like it looks like, nature really understood that it was dry here and it needed to drop a little moisture because this is only the second storm we've had. This one would be the third. Last year we had we had probably 7-8 storm. Again, we had 80 some inches of snow last year. It was like the third most snow of ever up here. I mean, we had real snow where they had missed school days and everything. No missed school. It was like a possibility this last couple days. So I don't mind it up here at all. I'm interested in being fed by yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I mean, they do. Like a lot of there was a movie just came out about Babylon. And people don't understand, how important Babylon is to what became the Catholic Church and the rituals and stuff. Because at a point, Babylon and Kemet and Ur and some places in Samaria all existed at certain periods in history. They all existed at the same time. And maybe from Ur and Samaria, it was a developed of people, but it's still like the same people lived in the same area a lot of the same time. There were people that occupied each area at the same time that had been dealing with each other. And so, when they tell you, you see that the Israelis and the Judeans was beat by the Assyrians. And you see that where they was also slaved, by the Babylonians, captured and enslaved by the Babylonians. And yet you see them doing the Babylonian practices. I mean, there's nothing spiritual about the Vatican, just looking at it. Like every year I watch that shit on Christmas Eve with the Pope and stuff, and whatever that chapel is, there's nothing positive about that. And then if you look at, Jesus hanging on a cross suffering, there's nothing spiritual about that. That is wicked as it can get. That is a wicked, that is not spiritual. That is a wicked symbol. No one could look at that and say that this man's suffering like this is a positive spiritual thing. They did exist a lot at the same time. Well, I mean, just look at history. And it was the point, like what people don't understand is the Commetans was kind of jealous a little bit of the Sumerians, because the way the Sumerians, like they would go down to the Sumerians and they would like be marveled as how much more advanced the civilization was, and the record keeping and the trade. So they really didn't like them, and Babylonian was kind of looking at them as the same. It's like these people has better trade than we have. And it was just, part of like when Babylonian was going, the Sumerian was like kind of the end of their run, where Babylonian was coming into their power. And so, you see that these people that became under their thumb just copied a lot of their habits and traditions. And so that's what we see at the Vatican. Catholics don't understand what they, like, even Christians, they don't really understand what they worship. They truly don't. They truly don't. They don't understand. And for that religion to be connected to being able to get a fortune, you got Olstein and you got Jakes, you got all these dudes that saying, you use this as to get bread without actually teaching the people how to get bread, like Reverend Ike did. Reverend Ike was telling you, the God in you. It's the God in you that have to make these miracles. You have to generate the God in you. Again, vibrating high. You have to bring out the God in you, that magic in you, however you want to call it. You have to bring that out in you. And that takes a lot of practice. I don't know. It's just like, to read the book that came before Columbus and to be holding, I don't know how old this thing is, but, something that definitely is, what is the word? Omicnized, meaning in the design of it, in the in the design and to be able to, even hold something like this. It's just getting this stuff was such a dream come true. And even this, as I say, I live this stuff. To have this, I need the ceramic one. This is a 3D printed, but I need the ceramic one. But it's just really a dream come true. It really is. And then to have, this depiction of the first depiction of a true athlete up from the Americas, a footballer playing the sacred ball game, to have the first depiction of a ball player in America, to have this, it's really a dream come true. To have this around me every day. As I say, I live this. And thank you. And so I live this. I just don't talk about it. I try to tap into this and what it could mean for us in America. That's all. As I tell you, the ball fields they have really no control over the energies. That's why you have to understand, healing can be met at a ball field. Because in South America, I tell you, they look so funny because they don't even understand. And they've got a little small ball field, and they done stuck a sideways hoop on it, and they really think these weird angles that's how the game was played. It's just laughable if you watch it because, again, the ball fields go back to creation. And some of the ball fields are made for sorrow. Sorrow. That's also the part of a ball field. Because the ball field, the energy always stays there. So some of the ball fields were just for sorrow. Children dying, parents dying, sorrow. You go to the ball field. So that's what we see a lot in South America. And, the Mazzettos want to tell you they was going on these crazy. No, it's not for that. It's for grieving. Because, again, the ball field is connected to creation. And only the Americas do we connect our sport to creation. So this is something that's natural to the America. That's why the ball game means so much to us. That's why we can just take a ball and just throw it up there over and over and over again. Never get tired of it. We play catch with a child. We just throw it back and forth. A child will catch a ball back and forth with you all day. It's innate in him. Again, Columbus was the first European to see a ball. And that was in Haiti. So you see how far the influence is from the omen. Because Rubber comes from them. They the first ones that showed the world rubber and how to produce it and how to make it into things. That can't be taken away from the Americans. That technology came from what you want to call commercially the omic, but the pronunciation is really the omen or the people from the rubber areas. Just like the Macoya is really the name is the corn people. The same thing is those areas were called the rubber people. They do not know their real name. It is not Z. It is not the people of the Z. Z was a contemporary of the Macoya too. So it's incorrect to call those people the Z because they are not that. There's right now, we do not understand or can't read what they wrote. Dr. Winter wrote a bullshit book. So yeah, that's just bullshit, Dr. Winter. You know it's bullshit. Because again, that African thing, I showed you the tree of life. Dr. Winter saying, this is coming from Africa to give the tree of life in South America. Well, we know it's the opposite. He knew it's the opposite. But again, he gets paid. See, that's why he ducks me on the radio. And I was not near where I am now, buddy. So if we ever get together on the radio again, because you ducked me and you could have killed me that day. You really could have, because I wasn't prepared. You could have, because we were supposed to be on the radio together. We know somebody, the same person, Dr. Winters, and you ducked me. And I am not that person where you could have embarrassed me then. I didn't know enough, but I know way more now, buddy. And when you're talking to a person like, they'd be like, who funded that? Well, I did this research of certainty. Who funded that? When you went down there, you looking through them bones, who funded that? Well, Rockefeller is like when you like Dr. Ben, the blind dude, look at who put him in school. Look at his scholarships. Look where he went. A lot of these black heroes, Dr. Ben, the dude went blind. That dude Rockefeller. He is not a black hero. He wasn't speaking really in our favor. He's educated by Rockefeller. So these is plants. As good as Dr. Ben sounded, he was a plant. Just look at who educated him. Same way with Marcus Garvey. Same way with the dude, what's his name? They called him the Lion, Ethiopian. Look at pictures when he a little boy, who he lived with. That dude they made Ethiopian, and the Rastas love him. Look at who raised that dude. That dude was raised by some Eurasian people. He wasn't raised by his family. He was raised by a completely another family. Selassie. So these people ain't who you think they are. Like even Noble Drew Ali. Even Noble Drew Ali was Bannister. I think that was his real name, was Bannister. He was a magician in a circus. He was almost like a roving gypsy. But, and I really wish I could get my brother on to break it down better. The Catholic Church did what he put there. The Catholic Church copied him. They're buying lands, putting your own townships together. I mean, that's kind of why they killed Noble Drew Ali. He was telling folks like, wait a minute, this is how you put everything together. And what's his name? I got his book downstairs. He kind of piggybacked on that, whatever the guy is talks about economics. He kind of piggybacked a little bit on what Noble Drew Ali was saying. You get the banks, you get the hospitals, the schools, and you really control your own interests. And that's what was great about segregation. Well, let me take that back. Because people don't understand what segregation really was Jewish faith people in the neighborhoods. They were still, Jewish faith people was in the segregated neighborhoods. So they may tell you it was segregated, but you had Jewish faith people and Italians, a lot of times too, in the minority neighborhoods, in the melanated people neighborhoods. You had Jewish faith people that owned a lot of the little liquor stores, Jewtown in Chicago, I talk about all the time. Some of the best tailors, A1 tailors. Jewtown, my suits was bad. Suits I took to college, that shit was just perfect. But I've said over and over again, that's who got burned out in the riots. Jews never returned to the melanated neighborhoods after they got burned out by the 60 riots. And that's Detroit, that was all over. They were burned out. And I'm the only one who really talks about that, how they was burned out of the melanated neighborhoods. And Do the Right Thing kind of tells that story as well. I mean, he tells it as a Italian restaurant, which, you know, a lot of that too, but it's kind of the same thing as the Jewish faith people left the neighborhoods. That was one thing the 60 riots did, is it put them out of melanated neighborhoods. And people my age, you know, you remember, you know, little Jewish tailors, little Jewish jewelry stores, you know, they were all over the melanated neighborhoods, little Jewish grocery stores. You didn't see that after the riots. The motherfuckers got up out of there because they got burned out. Tailors and lawyers. Well, matter of fact, you know, again, you know, when you get to Isabella and her problem, well, what she did with them, and you know that again, they don't talk shit about Isabella like they talk shit about Hitler, do they? And she put no one else in the world put their foot in the ass as Isabella, but they don't mention her, do they? Because she was just in getting rid of them. What did I say in this book behind me of Isabella? What do they say? These people never toil the land. They never toil the land. What did Levi's do when he went west? He never tried to go for gold, but he learned that if I had the picks, I had the shovels, I had the pans, I had a canvas. He was a vulture. He wanted to make money off people that physically did for the gold. And that's the same thing. That's what Isabella's saying. You know, that's why she started what she started. Inquisition. This is what they don't talk about. Now, when I was a child, you saw a bunch of movies about Inquisition and them getting tortured. This can't be denied. When I was a child, they were some of the most exciting movies. And, you know, even then you wasn't really thinking like, man, they fucking that Jewish faith person up. But when I was a child, it was a bunch of Inquisition movies. Send him to the rack. And you hear motherfuckers screaming and shit. And you don't know that they going after them peoples. And look who making the movies. So you see, there's always been a fight against them peoples. Because a lot of them Inquisition movies was made. And I bet you can still find a few. But when I was a little boy, it was always movies of Inquisition, fucking them people up in the Inquisition. You know, they having them on council and shit, be like, no, we found him practicing that Jewish stuff, practicing his whatever, not working on Saturday. Send him to the rack. When I was a boy, I watched a bunch of shit like that. See, they don't say that though, do they? They don't talk about how Isabella treated them. They quiet on that regard. And why they came to America. You know, Cologne was not Italian. Cologne was Portuguese, Jewish faith. The first person that paid for Columbus was not Isabella and Fernando, as the TV show tried to show. They were in the middle of a war. They were fighting the Moors, who by that time they had beat them all the way to Grenada. So she didn't have money to pay Columbus. It was a Jewish faith guy, a couple Jewish faith people, but one name comes out, and again, it's in the book Isabella. It's in the book. I'm trying to think a couple other books, but Isabella is in the name. It's in his name. So you know that reference out there you can find easily. Who paid for Columbus's first trip? It wasn't Isabella. She didn't have the money. That's why I get into the time walking papers. It's El Zagan. It's two El Zagans. It's one El Zagan young and one El Zagan young, old. The final Moor that broke, it was an uncle and a nephew. El Zagan the young was the one that sided with Isabella and quit fighting. He was the Moor that sided with Isabella. And in the time walking papers, they say, I've never found it. He says it's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the biggest payoff for selling a country. And if you study her history, that can't be true because she didn't have that type of money. So, and the other El Zagan, the older, he's the one that kept fighting Isabella in Grenada. And so the Jewish faith people that were there were put out, and Spain wasn't taking them, France wasn't taking them, there's a lot of people not taking them. So they went over to America. The first European to step on American soil was a Jewish faith person, a melanated Jewish faith person at that. And the only reason they say Columbus is Italian is the Italians didn't like being called mafia people. So they needed a character. They could say, hey, look what Italy did. But we know that he was from Portugal. A deep study of who he really was. Calan is more how his name was pronounced. Again, the Christopher Columbus is a title and not a real name. And I've said many nights, the first Christopher Columbus was St. Patrick, who got rid of the snakes, which was the Twa people. He was a mass murderer. He was sent there to kill the last melanated people in Ireland. And then they make, they say they took their gold. So what it is they paid them gold not to kill them, and they still killed them anyway. Do you see how they switched it? That's why they say you catch the leprechaun, there's the gold. Well, the Twa gave him the gold they found in Ireland, and he still killed him anyway. Then they make fun of it. If you catch the leprechaun, they got to tell you where the gold's at. Well, that's what the Twa people did. They said, here's the gold, leave us alone. No, he killed him. So, and he's made a saint for mass murder. So that just tells you what Christianity is. To make a saint out of a mass murderer. And so when we see the other Cologne, he becomes the second Christopher Columbus, which again is a title. There's never a person that sailed that you can find that's his name. The cat that they're talking about is another dude named Calan. Even some of the diaries is fake. There's diaries of that Calan person, but not Christopher Columbus. So it's a whole nother person that they've told you. They try to take a whole nother person, make you think it's this title person. And again, the evil. I showed the thing of Meredith Quinn and talking about them being cannibals because, Isabella made him stop slaving. And the only way they could slave is they said the people was cannibals. And we know that they were eating people, Columbus people. Those woodcuts clearly show that the Europeans benefiting from cooking these people. They make you look at it like they're torturing these people. But no, there's cooking these people. As Meredith Quinn says, to make steaks out of them, pack it in salt, send this meat to Europe. And again, these people that lived there, they weren't used to eating the fish, the fruit, the fowl. Were no pigs, were no cows. I don't even think there were chickens. I may be wrong about that. And you can find the first person that really started eating people. He talks about it, how easy it was and the way the flesh was. So we know that these Eurasians was cannibals too. We know they were because we can find that in the study of his people. And that solved the problem. They were getting meat like they were used to eating. And that's how they flourished because they didn't, they didn't like what was over here to eat. So by the time Cortez comes, the way they survived, it was so plentiful. Food was so plentiful. And again, these cannibals was eating people, so. Still happening today with eating people. Well, it seems like it. Let me see. Taylor's. Isabella's book. Yeah, Isabella's book is deep about Queen Isabella. Her book is deep because, what happened is she wrote the Inquisition. She had her people write it up, and she had 4 or 5 priests that put boot to ass. So it's let me see if I can turn around and see it. Where's the Isabella book? White trash. Stolen. Should be right here. Oh, right here. Yeah, I found it. You know, my dyslexia would be like, I'm on the clock. But okay, so all the Moors, let's get this straight. See, the Moors try to tell you that they controlled all of Europe, and that's not true. Matter of fact, you can see the what is his name? What was the battle that finally lost Islam? Champlain, or I know there's Charlemagne and Champlain, but he beat them and stopped Islam from going into major Europe. So they never see again when they say that when they try to say that the Moors controlled Spain, well, there was no Spain at the time the Moors were there. Now, let me see if I can find this map to read you what the country was called, because it wasn't even called Spain. Here it is. This shit. Okay, again, you have France. You had a place called Navarre, Aragon. You have Castile. You have Portugal, and then you got Grenada. This is where the Moors were, in Grenada. All right? You kind of want to, you see? Down there at the bottom is Grenada. That's what the Moors controlled. Now, and this is Isabella of Spain by William Thomas Walsh. Now, key characters in this book is the Barja, the original Barja. He was a military knight, or military bishop, excuse me. And so I want to say her husband was from Aragon. She had the thing to Castile. So really, she had more power than her husband. Her husband only could become king by marrying her. And technically, she couldn't be king. They didn't have it where she was queen because of who she was, her father and mother. He became king for marrying her, Fernando. But I want to say he came from Aragon. But this book says that one of the reasons why they put them people out is because, again, they never worked the land. There are people that never work the land. They want to make money off people who work the land. She put boot to ass, and you don't hear them complaining about her. More than probably 6 million people was probably, and again, we know it wasn't 6 million, it more, maybe not even a million. But this is a great book about her. She didn't live very long, but she was a warrior queen. I mean, she hustled. She rallied to go get her people. Like, she would ride the shit out of horses to go fuck with people, to get her people to fight with her. And again, like, one problem with the Time Walking Papers is he tries to say that the Elzagon the Younger, that he got all this money, when I know she had to, again, go to bankers to sell her jewels so she could pay soldiers to fight Grenada. So there's a conflict there of information. It's like, how did she pay this guy who supposedly the story, the Time Walker that Meredith Quinn tells you that's wrong is that she paid him to take over Grenada, when we know that's not what happened. This book tells you that the Younger was able to leave and his uncle kept fighting her until they was able to overthrow the uncle. Not the Younger, the uncle. So it's discernment again. As amazing the Time Walkers are, papers are, it's something that's easily researchable that you see that that's wrong. Your history timeline for that is absolutely wrong, because there's no way she had the money to pay what he claims that she paid. She didn't have the money to pay it. She had money enough to pay an army, but not enough money to pay this dude, all the money in the country to leave. So right there, we find, it's relatively, and this is a hardback. This book wasn't that expensive, and you can go see her. You can go see her tomb where her and her husband are buried too. But they don't talk shit about her, do they? You don't never see them talking bad about her. Isn't that interesting? Because really, they were done worse than what Hitler did. Like Hitler had some people killed and displaced, but not like she had them killed, displaced. It was like torture was legal. And I guess, killing people the way they say Hitler did, but torture was legal. And it has the numbers of Jewish faith people that were there and the amount that they took out. But they don't talk shit about her, huh? That never comes up. That Inquisition was about them. They don't even make you think that Inquisition was about them. They try to tell you it's other. You listen to history, it wasn't about them, but it was about them. And that's where you get what do they call them? Conversos. That's where the term conversos comes from. It comes from Jewish faith people that converted to Christianity. Conversos. That's where the term converso comes from. So, Marcus the Great, top of the morning. Thank you for joining. Let's see. How do I do that again? It's been so long since I did it. How do I do? Oh, I don't want to do that. Right here. Can I do that? Those comes from. It comes from Jewish faith people. Okay, turn it off. All right. There we go. There we go. Okay. A little more control over there. Yeah. So yeah, it never comes up. And it's funny, those movies, the Inquisition movies were it was a trip movie. I mean, it was like you would get hyped because they would be messing these people up. They would just, it's like they would say something, next thing they tortured them, put him on the rack. And the rack was like, the dude be sitting there all stretched out, be like, or like they'd lay him down sometime. Or they would quarter a person. You know what quartering a person is where they tie all his joints and have horses running. I mean, they would show these kind of movies. Like when he got pulled apart, they would switch the camera off. But they would literally show the dude like with ropes on him like this. And then when they would tell the horses to go, they would switch off the person. This was all the Inquisition movies. They was just fucking people up. And they walked around, like it was normal. They would sit there and have meetings and be like, hey, put this one in the rack and put that one. And like everything was cool, it was interesting. But yeah, it's that history that I want to talk about. I mean, let me, no, that's on Facebook, I think. I thought I got it off of here. But it explains how, Jewish faith people were put out every country. And, you can get the blood libel books. That's on you. You get the blood libel because a lot of the books come out and say disproving blood libel, and this is their books just proving it. But when you read the shit, it's like, God damn, these are some evil ass people. I mean, read those blood libel books. So read both sides because some of them say disproving blood libel. So don't be fooled when you look up blood libel because a lot of them say disproving. But read that side too, and they don't disprove it at all. Here's their own scholars, and they don't disprove it because they tell you all the allegations. Do you understand? Because that's being thorough. They tell you all the allegations, and the allegations don't disprove that they did it. I only got one blood libel book, and I'm like, this says just to disprove it, and it doesn't disprove nothing. It shows you that this is. For some, the Khazars, the Ashkenazis, for some reason, and this does go to Baal. They are, they are human sacrificers. That becomes again. They say they converted to Judaism, but what they practice is Baalism. When you get into blood libel and what was done in Europe. So, and the way, right now, Gaza is destroyed. It's destroyed. I mean, parts of that country was some of the most beautiful oceanfront land in the world. And all that's destroyed. Genocide has been allowed by the Americans. Now the ceasefire, after they done ran out of them people. And what have they showed us they do? They run the people out and they put their people in new settlements. So, enough about that. Enough about that. All right, I guess oh shit, okay. Okay, 3 hours on this channel and I did about an hour on the other. Okay. Okay, with this moon energy, let me in with something else. Let me see, where do I want to go with this? I don't know. Just being, how can I describe this? I don't even know if I can describe it. It's going to be kind of hard to describe. So just imagine, again, everything is black. And the world we live on is just all liquid. But yet every inch of that liquid is consciousness. And so everything that comes out of this liquid it's a conscious like being. And it's not even like fish. It's like every single drop of this thing is conscious. And again, the way things work, things come together. But every drop of it was conscious. And they found out that, gapping together can make, these small things part of a much bigger thing. But yet nothing was, solid. Everything was just liquid. And so as these things gathered together and they just noticed that they were able to spread out from the source of this liquid because, again, every drop had consciousness. And the consciousness felt that, learned that by grouping together, it could, not just leave the source, it could expand what was on top of the source. And so that's what you see the earliest things that moved was every drop was consciousness, and this consciousness joined together to become individual bigger consciousness. But yet there was nothing solid. But yet this was a very harmonic time to be almost, the way the consciousness came together, some would call it a dome. But the dome was completely different than what we think of glass or crystal. This dome was the lightest thing from this black goo that there could be. Almost invisible, but yet from the black goo. And yet it completely surrounded the source. And then, as the time passed, this intelligence liked being away from the source. It thrived better being off of the source. Yet it was a completely thriving civilization. But yet there's no record of it from our vantage point. We can't comprehend what that was. But yet it existed. And it had everything that we think of, but yet it didn't really need to take anything from source other than being a part of it. So even though each individual drop had a consciousness, when it came together, still respected where it came from. And again, you have to understand when you come from the source, there's no reason to feed because you're already full all the time. You're full from the source. And that's where, the parasites come in, which we are now. We're parasites. But full source beings, there's no need to eat. Because you were born with everything you always needed to exist. Just being part of the source is what you existed off of. You needed nothing else. And of course, there's all this, and the source changes. The source changes to a new thing. A lot of people want to say that the mountains came first, but they really didn't. The mountains only, they want to tell you that the world of the rocks and the mountains came first, but it's obvious that the mountains couldn't have existed when these trees ran the world. There was no room for the mountains then. When tree world was here, that's all that was here, was no mountains. Stones were only under the trees. There were no mountains. And the trees went up to where these other beings lived. See, a new kind of source, a new kind of consciousness came in, and it was the trees. It's 4:44. And the trees grew up into where the original source people came from. So they knew each other. They learned from the people that lived above, that we can call the dome, but just lived above source. And so from this tree world, a whole different kind of civilization existed and came. The idea of the water tree, the idea of the family tree comes from the tree consciousness. For us still living in wooden built structure comes from the tree consciousness. Tree house. That, you know how long that existed? We still are connected to wood in a way we don't even understand. Because that's what, we're closer to that. We're closer to those beings than we are the original source beings that live up in the atmosphere. We're closer to the tree beings who existed before the rocks. Because when the rocks came, the rocks were initially soft. And the rocks came only after the war. That's the only reason the rocks came, is because of the war. And the war was between the people that originated, or the beings that originated on the ground. The consciousness, once the trees, there was a consciousness that was there on the ground. And that consciousness turned into a civilization. And as I've said many times before, that consciousness was about to be wiped out by a major flood of water. And the people were good enough to take them all up in the trees. And they had their own for thousands of years. They lived freely. But yet there was that hostility. They knew that there was a person up deep in the space. They knew that there was the people in the trees. They weren't living with the people in the trees. They were living in a part of where the trees had open space. And that made those people hostile. And when the grounds cleared, the people went back. And that's where the war started against the trees. And that was the first war against the trees. And we later see when the Eurasians come over here, just look at any map of what it looked like before they came. Virgin forest, far as you could see. And look, it didn't take them long to destroy the forest. Look at the maps. It didn't take them long. 100 years, 150 years. Like right now, if you look at your life and look around you and why the trees don't look very old, it's because, if it wasn't for the Dust Bowl, these motherfuckers would have never kept any trees. The Dust Bowl taught them if you don't put trees around your soil is going to go. Because they, again, any way a Eurasian can make money, this is what they do. They don't care about the earth. They only care for profit. They don't care if what they make hurts and kills people. They only care about their profit. And this is what the trick is. You've got rich people, no matter what they do, they're still rich. But yet they're like Duke and Duke. Want to make bets on how the poor people can destroy themselves. So, but yet we can get into after the war. One thing we saw the war was when the trees, a big part of the trees were destroyed, and the trees had to kind of go west. That's why you still see the big trees that you see out west, because the trees had to retreat. Because obviously, those big trees that went into space lost. And then you see the lands coming what they're seeing, and you see the much smaller trees, which were the small plants at one time. Again, if you look at a tree family and the tree system, it's one of the most beautiful systems that starts with the fungus. And the fungus is like their internet. That fungus grows in there, and the nutrients and everything the tree needs, it's a network there for the tree that grows through the fungus. tree falls, the other trees still send that root, they send that dead tree what it needs to decay perfectly to help everybody else. And that root, they start sending different kind of nutrients to the root. So this is a whole society that comes from those original trees that went into space. So there's a consciousness there. That's why they say, hug a tree and understand its importance, because they're vulnerable. Hey, Nicole B, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. And even the time of the rocks, when the rocks were soft. I mean, this is the time of the mountains. This is the time where these rocks could freely move around the earth. And you're talking about a rolling stone. This is the time of the rock consciousness, which comes in with the rise of the mountains. But even the mountains were soft. So these were conscious beings that could move around. Now, the thing that they say that made the rocks hard was oxygen. Well, oxygen and bacteria. Now, some of you may say, well, wait a minute, how did the trees didn't need oxygen? Obviously, the trees didn't, because the trees grew in space. All the trees at one point grew into space. So no, they weren't living off oxygen like that. They were still living off the sun and the soil, but they didn't need oxygen the way you and I think oxygen. Because when the rocks were alive, it was a different type of oxygen that came that stopped these rocks from being soft and being able to move all around the world and made them stuck. And again, when the rocks were soft, they can take many different shapes and shapes, sizes. If rocks want to come together, when they were soft and conscious. And now, and the only rock that can really give you fullerness is this, shungite. And what shungite and what fullerness is a true connection between the organic and the inorganic. Because this is one of the oldest rocks on Earth, along with the greenstones. And at one time, this rock was alive. Now we know, like when you look at that compared to a crystal, we're talking about something that's much older. Much older. And the same thing with this greenstone. Talking about the rocks that are so old that they were once soft and alive. Greenstone. Shungite, pneumite. Again, the saying is, when the rocks were soft and alive. And they attribute oxygen. The way we breathe oxygen now is the thing that unalived the rocks. So what could have done that? They want to say it was fungus. That fungus got in the water, and then fungus created a certain type of new thing that froze all the rocks. That sounds more like some type of viral agent. Like when we go into the movie Perseus, remember he jumps into the water? That's what it kind of reminds me of, is that they put something in the water, and what they put in the water attacked the rocks. Oxygen attacked the rocks and froze it in their place. So when they try to show you giants and all that, well, there were rocks that were, again, like I was saying about the other beings, there was rocks that could come together and be a single being, just like, our internal organs. Rocks could do the same thing. So when you see all these rock figures, this is what stopped them, was oxygen, which seems, again, artificially put there to stop them. So, well, I've said enough. I went 3 hours. I won't be back until Friday after the game. I don't think it's a game Thursday. I think the game's Friday. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Sorry, Nicole B. I don't know how much you caught, but after 3.5 hours, it's close to 4 hours because I started the other channel at noon. So I hope you guys got something out of what I said tonight. I hope you got something out of the meditation. Again, remember the energies last 4 days before and 4 days after. So we're on the days after. If you can use the moon energy, here's the omen energy. May it be with you and give you joy.